271 Arrow vs. Graphant. Facing the incoming Graphant, I kick off the ground and spread my wings as I leap into the air. Above the Graphant, I flap my wings to shoot out 4 wine slashes aimed directly beneath me. My targets are its hind legs and ass. If I conceal its rear legs, I can reduce the risk of being kicked to death where I can't see them. By shaving away at its rear, it should be a little easier for them to inflict damage. The first 2 shots scrape flesh out of its hind legs. Chunks of meat dance through the air and blood spurts from the wound. The Graphant's forelegs buckle as it compensates for the new imbalance. Then before it has a chance to scream, the remaining 2 wind slashes scrape away skin from its ass. The look of rage at its eyes deepens as it glares at me in the sky. The Graphant rages. Listening to its roar, I land on my forelegs a short distance away. My body weight sinks into the ground, raising a cloud of sand. This much should be okay. In truth, I want to drop all 4 of its legs, but if I do that, there's a good chance the experience points they can get would be reduced. I've learned from training the ball rabbit and from weakening the red ant nest with poison dangos. If it's not a valid fight, then only a commensurate amount of experience will be awarded. I need to weaken it as close to the limit as possible. I've reduced its mobility. I've also made a weakness in its blind spot. I've attracted its attention, and if it looks dangerous, I can intervene. With this much, even though they're E and D rank, they should be able to safely take on the D rank Graphant. Bumo. Bumoh. Dragging its rear legs behind it, the Graphant approaches me. As expected, its speed has dropped considerably. Behind it, Arrow, the lesser treant, and the spiderlings prepare for battle. Earth ma gic. Clay. Arrow chants, and the ground swells to form a sharp-pointed tip. The needle of earth pierces the Graphant's exposed flesh. Frustrated by her attack, the Graphant drags its lower half as it changes course. It turns to face Arrow, who's foremost of the group, and lowers its chin, aiming its vicious horns at her. Just as I'm thinking I should help, I notice the ground deforming around her feet and stop moving my wings. Bamu! Almost at the same time as its roar, Arrow jumps backwards. She used clay on the ground beneath her feet to propel herself through the air. Probably, she had already started preparing it before it turned to face her. Rather than speed, she's far more proficient in magic. Instead of moving herself, using magic to move certainly a lot faster. She lands on a branch of the lesser treant behind her. Perhaps afraid of the Graphant, the spiderlings scatter in every direction. They're not monsters that I made, so they've no reason to listen to me. Since they're E-rank, it's easy for them to evolve, so perhaps I should have found a more reasonable monster for them. Failing to catch her, the Graphant's horn pierces deep into the ground. Its muscles become pronounced as it strains its forelegs. Arrow raises her hand to its horn. Using the clay skill, the ground deforms to cover its horn and hardens. But without pause, she stretches the earth towards its mouth. I guess she plans on suffocating it to death. That's a pretty brutal way to kill. It raises its forelegs high into the air. Perhaps sensing danger, the lesser treant moves back, taking Arrow with it. She stops manipulating the earth and raises a hand towards its face. ND magic, Gale. A gust of wind rushes past its open eyelid and plunges into its eyeball. Zasho. The blood vessels in its eye become bright red with congested blood. But its eye continues to glare at her without any lost function. It slams its forelegs into the ground. The entire area shakes, and its huge body springs into the air. This is it, the high jump. With its hind legs crushed, I thought it wasn't going to be able to use it. The lesser treant crawls with its roots, putting more distance between itself and the Graphant. It creaks as it moves, its eye-like depressions fixed on the midair Graphant. TH magic, Clay. As Arrow chants, the vitality drains from her body. Her skin dries out, becoming more earth-like. It looks like she's put all of her remaining MP into this clay. Pushing through the undergrowth, an extra-large needle of earth materializes from the ground. It stretches out 2 meters in length, pointing towards the falling abdomen of the Graphant. She must be planning on using the force of its fall to inflict damage. That could work, is what I thought, but the Graphant tilts its body forward, shifting its trajectory to the direction she's retreating. Feeling that her expression is clouding over, I judge that I should lend a hand here. A faint light shines from the Graphant's body as it hangs in the air for a second. The next instant, its huge body is wrapped in flames and it suddenly starts rocketing downwards. This'll be the skill that's paired with high jump, meteor dive. It looks like it's a skill to drop onto your opponent at high speed while burning. I shoot 2 wind slashes. The blades of vacuum fly straight and penetrate its armor of flame, striking its head and body. The first shot crushes its face, causing its forward-leaning posture to crumble. The second wind slash gouges out flesh from its abdomen. Byumuo! As it lands, the giant earth needle pierces its wounded belly. Unable to withstand the impact, the needle of earth crumbles away partway through. The shock of its landing rocks the surroundings. Che? It's got more power than I thought. If I'd taken that hit as an evil plague kid dragon, I'd be on the brink of death. But since it jumped onto a pillar of earth with the force of its own attack, it should have taken quite some damage. Boo! The Griffons crawls on its stomach but soon manages to climb back to its forelegs. In the center of its abdomen, the tip of the giant clay needle is embedded. Blood gushes out. Species, Graphant. Condition, enraged, major, bloodshed. LV 2755. HP 208/361. Mepe, 9553. I had still got over half left. More than anything else, it's a monster specialized in defense, so there's no helping it. Arrow falls from the Lesser Trent's branch, landing on her back. The Lesser Trent quickly picks her up and flees from the Graphant. She's at her limit for MP then. It looked like that last clay had a lot of magic power loaded into it, after all. Should I finish it quickly? I noticed the spiderlings approaching the wound I opened in its rear with a wind slash. Byumo! Bamu! The spiderlings spew out thread and stick to the wound. It tries to shake them off, but its legs are in tatters from the impact of its fall, so it's unable to put much strength into it. Even if it tries to attack, it can't do anything since they're at its rear. I smash its forelegs with wind slash. With a thud, it collapses to its belly. At the same time, the spiderlings start biting at its wound. Bamu! Byumu oh. I guess I'll leave it for a while until its strength runs out. Poor thing though. 272 LV up. The spiderlings tear apart the Graphant through its wound. It doesn't look like they enter very deep, but its blood keeps spurting out in waves. At first, it puts power into its crushed legs to shake them off in resistance, but it gradually comes to a stop. Eventually, all it can do is convulse. With blood flowing from wounds all over its body, its HP decreases. Finally, its HP becomes 0 and its eyes roll back into its head as its life ends, strength fading from its body. 173 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 173 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 71 to 72. With the awarding of experience points, I know that it has finally died. By then, Graphant. You were a good guy probably. No, I wouldn't know though. Now then, Arrow and the others should have gotten experience points too. As their level increases, I should be able to take them hunting more safely. I can heal them endlessly thanks to the amount of MP I have as an Ouroboros, so being able to survive a single hit makes a big difference. First of all, I shift my gaze to the 8 baby Arini that are smeared with the Griffant's flesh and blood. Species, baby Arini. Condition, normal. LV, 5/12. HP, 8/17. Mepe, Chinch no. They went from level 1 to 5. For their level to rise this much just from gnawing at it, that's not bad. They might have been attacking a downed enemy, but what finished it off was the bloodshed status condition they inflicted. Their next evolution is well in sight. The E-rank baby Arini evolve easily after all. Now then, the next question is the Lesser Trant and Arrow. I shift my gaze to the Lesser Trant. Species, Lesser Trant. Condition, cursed. LV, 9/25. HP, 38/75. Mepe, no 12 no. It went from level 4 to 9. It feels slow because I have my experience doubling cheat, but this is a good pace. Fundamentally, it was only supporting Arrow in that battle, it's not like it directly attacked the Graphant at all. It's rather brilliant overall, but it's not got any attack skills. Next up, I shift my attention to Arrow, who's languidly reclining in the Lesser Trent's branches. Name Arrow. Species, Reviana Mage. Condition, cursed. LV, 14/30. HP, 60/78. Mepe, 67/78. Ooh, she went all the way from level 6 to 14. She's finally reaching to the turning point. If she gets through the rest, she'll officially be a C-rank monster. Her appearance should be a lot closer to a human next time too. Though, perhaps because she's out of MP or because she's strained herself too much, she's looking quite weak. It might be that she needs to MP to maintain her body. In actuality, the texture of her skin's looking pretty bad. An MP shortage is worse for her than it is for me. Since she specializes in using magic to attack, Arrow can only act within the limits of her MP. In raising her level, that's the biggest limiting factor. If she never ran out of MP, she could attack endlessly and we could raise her level in the blink of an eye. Though there's nothing quite so sweet. We'll have to go at it again tomorrow. Name Arrow. Species Reveana Mage. Condition Cursed. LV 14/30. HP 60/78. Mepe 67/8. Attack 43. Defense 37. Magic 79. Speed 32. Rank D. Characteristic skills. Grisha language, LV2 Undead, LV-Dark Attribute, LV-Flesh Transformation, LV4. Resistance skills. Status Condition Nullification, LV-Physical Resistance, LV3 Magic Resistance, LV2. Normal skills. Gale, LV4 Poor Curse, LV3 Life Drain, LV2 Clay, LV5 Self-Regeneration, LV2 Clay Doll, LV4 Mana Drain, LV1. Title skills. Servant of the Evil Dragon, LV-Hollow Sorcerer, LV3. Her title skills have increased? No, that's not what's important, her normal skills have increased. She must have gained one upon leveling up. It's faint, but I have a memory of the Mana Drain skill. I can't be certain because the status inspection couldn't quite get through, but I remember that the slime had skills that looked like Life Drain and Mana Drain. Their names are similar, so maybe I remember them as a set. Arrow already had the Life Drain skill, so getting it might not be strange. Judging by the name Mana Drain, sucks up the target's MP and makes it her own. In which case, if I let her suck up my MP, everything will be fine. After all, my MP is inexhaustible to the point that I can even use the shitty humanization technique for a decent length of time. I rush ya. Species Ouroboros. Condition Normal. LV 72/125. HP 1808/1808. Mepe omie no osute doze shishaseth omie no osute doze shishase. By simple calculation, I can fully charge Arrow 22 times. As a bonus, automatic MP recovery will restore my MP right away. The MP for the wind slashes I fired off earlier has already been recovered. By continuously using Mana Drain on me, she should be able to keep firing off her high firepower magic of Clay and Gale endlessly. Her magic stat is far above the rest of her stats, so since she's level 14, she might even be able to properly damage C-rank monsters. I know a monster that's a higher rank, doesn't have much defense, and is scattered around all over the place. Right, the abysses. Even without me helping attack, she might be able to hunt an abyss now. If she can hunt an abyss, then her level should go up by the largest amount so far. 273 Abyss Hunt. I want to test out Arrow's Mana Drain right away. I hold my tail out in front of her as she sits weakly in the Lesser Trent's branch. Noticing my tail thrust in front of her, she turns to look at me. I nod my head and wave my tail. THANKU. Speaking falteringly, she reaches out and touches my tail, before continuing on to cling to me tightly, bringing her body close. Having become sand-like from a lack of magic power, her body surface flakes away. A faint light shines where she makes contact with my tail. I feel a sensation of my magic power being moved. Her crumbling skin looks more and more rehydrated. I get the feeling that her skin's actually looking a little healthier than normal. Her hair in particular was really dry, so the changes are more pronounced. It might not be my imagination after all. Though the changes really are quite subtle. It looks like she's restored her body. Perhaps because she's sucking up my magic power, a faint black light is shining. Well then, has her MP been restored? Name Arrow. Species Reveana Mage. Condition Cursed, Magic Correction Major. LV 14/30. HP 78/78. Mepe 87/87. Ooh, she really has fully recovered. I was worried if she'd be strong enough to fight an abyss, but perhaps because she sucked up my magic power, she's gotten some strange status condition. Magic correction, is it? That's an unexpected boon. With her power raised by magic correction and without having to worry about her remaining MP thanks to mana drain, she can fire off high-power magic without limit. With this, she should be able to overturn the difference in rank and get past the abyss defenses. Even after she's finished sucking up my MP, Arrow continues to cling to my tail. Oi, you're finished already. It's a bit calming. Oh. Once Arrow's finished calming down, I want to test out our new way of leveling her, so we'll leave the graph ant as it is for now. Gah. My partner stares regretfully at the graph ant, but we'll pick it up on our way back. I'll roast it till it's well cooked later, so please wait for now. The spiderlings are clinging to the graph ant, so I brush them off with my tail. After 3 repeats, they give up and start following behind me. With our preparations in order, we walk through the forest in search of an abyss. I never thought I'd go in search of them myself. As a C-rank monster that Arrow's magic can damage, they're reasonable prey for leveling her. If we succeed, she should be able to evolve right away. However, now that I'm searching for them, they're not turning up. Even though when I don't want to see them, they appear all over. Ah, those guys are hiding their presence. I exterminated a good number of them, so they might have me marked. They won't let me find them so easily. GA. GA. The further we walk, the more my partner lets out compassionless cries. Hey, our stomach's empty, you know? Hey? I'm not that bothered by it. Do you mind waiting until after we've seen if Arrow's leveling with a mana drain goes smoothly? Can't we do that after eating? Food eaten after exercise tastes better, you know. Weary just looking around at this rate, so meat. I guess there's no helping it, we're not finding any abyss easily, so I suppose we can eat first. It's my first big kill that I'm eating in a long time, so it would be a lie to say I'm not looking forward to it. After all, it's a lump of beef. It's just a shame that there's no salt to go on it. I go back the way we came, returning to where we left it. Behind me follows the lesser treant, with Arrow in its branches and the spiderlings moving around as they please. When we are able to see the graph ant through a gap in the trees, my partner starts drooling and stretching out her neck. Meat! 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 Even though she's like this, when she's humanized, she looks like an ordinary, well-put-together woman. It's unfortunate, or rather it feels like there's a mistake. She could do with a little more moderation. It'd be nice if she put a little more thought into her speech and conduct. If we humanized with her as the base and went into a city, she'd attract attention in all sorts of ways. Meat! Meat! Me-at? As we draw closer to the graph ant, her thoughts break off. The reason is clear. Vee. Via. Via. As I get closer, I see abysses that have congregated to the Griffant's corpse. They are gnawing away at it, tearing apart the meat. That reminds me, they use large monsters as their hatcheries. Ga away. My partner raises a roar of rage as she swings her head. I see a few tears dripping from her eyes. That's why I said to eat sooner. Sorry. It's just been licked by them a little bit. But we've succeeded in luring them out, so isn't this good? Look, you still eat it after it's been roasted. Ga. But they really do show up anywhere. Seriously, how many of them are there in this forest? I turn my eyes away from my partner and face Arrow. As though understanding what I want, she nods her head. Thanks to the Servant of the Evil Dragon title skill, Arrow and the Lesser Treant can understand what I want without me having to say it, which is convenient. It's not like I could humanize every time I wanted to say something. I bring my tail close to Arrow in her perch on the Lesser Treant's branch. She jumps across and I stretch my tail out, bringing her in front of my head. All right, you don't have to worry about running out of MP. Let loose with your biggest firepower. She raises her right hand into the air. A black light covers her body and concentrates at her raised hand. ND magic, Gale. The light of magic power condenses, then is suddenly fired. The magic power stirs the wind, causing a small tornado to form, which moves towards the abysses while gouging the ground. Perhaps because of her higher level, there's a big difference compared to when she used it against the graph ant. The tornado strikes a direct hit on an abyss that was absorbed in eating the graph ant. The Griffant's corpse is gouged and blood splashes out. Caught between the tornado and the graph ant, the abyss is expelled into the air before landing on its back a short distance away. It It wriggles its 8 legs, using them to roll itself over. Gale! The second tornado catches it just as it gets to its feet, blowing it away several meters for a second time. Its back strikes a boulder, and a cream-colored liquid dribbles from its mouth. Now then, it's a question of how much damage it's taken. From how it looks, it can't be unhurt. Species: Abyss. Condition: Enraged, minor. LV: 2458. HP: 229/288. Mepe: 58/58. G-grade: it's taken a fair bit. With 2 hits, it's taken 59 damage. So Arrow's strongest shot does about 30 damage. It might not be a lot, but it's certainly taking damage. It might be a bit tough, but she should be able to reap large rewards for being able to damage it in a frontal attack. If she can hunt higher ranks, her level should jump all the way up right away. 274 Arrow vs. Abyss. Arrow lowers her stance, her shoulders heaving. There's no change in the quality of her skin, so she should still have some MP left. Yeah. The Abyss she attacked and the others all rush towards us. The 2 in the back suddenly split left and right and hide their presences. I follow them with my eyes, but just when I think they're about to touch a tree, they abruptly disappear. Until those 2 show themselves, I'll have to leave them be. If they want to eat the graph ant, they could be clinging to the it right now. They could also be running away, or they could be aiming for me. For the time being, I'll keep an eye on the lesser treant and the spiderlings. Their actions aren't something I can predict. VAR. The Abyss runs at me with its 8 legs, rapidly closing the distance. Earth ma gic. Clay. Arrow raises a hand towards it. The ground swells, aiming at the Abyss. But it steps back without turning, cleanly dodging the earth before continuing to draw closer. It really is quite nimble. Gale has a larger area of effect, so I feel like it's easier to hit with. Arrow holds a hand to her face. There's not much change in her skin, but the faint black light that's been covering her has grown faint. Is she out of MP? Don't hold back from absorbing mine, okay? I signal Arrow with my eyes, pointing the tip of my tail up. She gives a small nod and embraces my tail. The black light covering her shifts around as it strengthens. While she's restoring her magic power, the Abyss has more or less gotten right in front of me. In just a little moment, it'll be in reach of my tail. It might be better if I gave some physical assistance about now. Arrow immediately returns her line of sight to the Abyss and raises both her hands. Gale! The light that fires from each of her hands stirs the wind, forming a pair of tornadoes. They fly away from it, circling around to pincer it from either side. It hastens its legs to leave the 2 tornadoes diagonally behind it. Arrow raises her arms once again. Gale! The 2 newly appearing tornadoes rush towards it from the front. The 4 tornadoes have the Abyss surrounded. Ooh, this should do some heavy damage, right? Swaying, Arrow supports herself on the bend in my tail. The magic power covering her has grown thin once again. I guess her limit's about 4 of them, then. She touches my tail with one hand, raising the other to the Abyss. Clay! The Abyss bends its legs to try and fly through a gap between the tornadoes. The earth pillar summoned by a clay seals its escape route with pinpoint accuracy. Stopping without thinking, the Abyss is pinched between the 4 tornadoes. With a loud howling noise, the 4 tornadoes cancel each other out. The strong winds even reach me. I hold my wings out in front of me, protecting Arrow from the backlash. Something that looked like a tree branch is carried by the winds and flies towards my eyes. Dodging would be bothersome, and it's not that large, so I resolve to receive it with my eyelid. It sticks to my eyelids and, strangely, starts contracting and expanding with small movements. In the next moment, I understand. That long, black, sticky thing is an Abyss leg. Gawa? I instinctively recoil with all my strength, but quickly recover myself, focusing so that Arrow doesn't fall from my tail. The leg falls to the ground and twitches and wriggles. I didn't want to see that. If only I'd blocked it with my wings. Perhaps because I was distracted for a moment, the Abyss that Arrow was fighting has disappeared. As I turn to check on the spiderlings, I notice an Abyss lurking in my blind spot, about leap out at Arrow. It's got 7 unbalanced legs. There's no mistaking it, this is the same one as before. It's aiming at Arrow rather than me. Perhaps because it's retaliating for her attack, or because it's noticed I haven't helped, it's judged her to be the bigger threat. It doesn't look like she's noticed it yet. I raise my tail up high. Losing her footing, Arrow clings on. The abyss slams its head into the underside of my tail and falls straight down. Its current statuses: Species Abyss. Condition Enraged Major. LV 2458. HP 134/288. MEP 52/58. It's finally below half. Arrow could do with a rest soon, so should I defeat all the abysses in the area? Thinking that, I look at Arrow to see raising a hand to the abyss still clinging to my tail. Just when I was thinking I should lower my tail to crush it, it looks like she still wants to fight. This child is pretty motivated about leveling after all. If the person in question still wants to go, then I guess I'll wait and see a bit longer. Gale. Her wind magic violently explodes on the defenseless underside of the abyss that had been rolling around belly up. Perhaps because she activated it so quickly, it doesn't have the same force as before. It's just strong enough to flip it over. Flipped right side up, the dazed abyss looks around in confusion, raising its head a little. Gale! 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 Aiming for that opening, she fires off 3 more wind magics. They're even smaller than before, only keeping their form for about a second. The abyss shrinks down, enduring the wind pressure.
Hapkia.
The wind eddies and bursts at the tip of her outstretched arm. Letting out a high-pitched scream, she crouches down on my tail. Having been dried out by the wind, her arm is covered in cracks. She must have been unable to control the gale due to a lack of magic power. She touches my tail with her other hand once again, absorbing MP with mana drain. It looks like the most she can do is absorb with one hand and track the target with her other. It doesn't look like she can fire off repeated shots like a machine gun. Via. The abyss jumps up for a second time. Its speed is far greater than hers. Ha! Perhaps because it took longer than she thought to switch skills, her reaction comes far too late. She cuts off the condensing of magic for her gale partway through, as she hardens her stance, holding out her arm. Unrelenting, the abyss stretches out 2 of its disconcertingly long legs, aiming to strike at her from both sides. The abyss extended forelegs are long. Once it's closed the distance, there's no time for her to replenish her MP after all. She's worked hard, so I'm sure she'll get plenty of experience. Thinking that, I raise my claw intent on crushing it to death. But in that instant, Arrow's hand swells in size and she grabs its head. GAA? Unthinking, I let out a stupid voice. The abyss floats in the air, its long legs wriggling frantically. I can't tell what's happening because my view is blocked from the front. 275 Flesh Transformation. V? V? The abyss wriggles its legs, struggling. But with its view blocked and dangled in the air, all it can do is squirm aimlessly. It's great that she was able to grab it right away, but it doesn't look like she knows what to do from here. Even though she's touching it, she's not even flinching. Is what I thought, but then she turns to me with a pleading look in her eyes. Is she on the verge of tears? No, I understand wanting to cry after grabbing something like that. When I first touched them, I was super disgusted too. Via. Vihey. The abyss writhes and Arrow starts to panic. For that matter, what's with that arm? Her arm's swollen up a lot bigger than normal, and her nails are particularly sinister, their tips sharp. Did she have a skill like that? No wait, she did. If I remember right, she's got a normal skill called a flesh transformation. By nature, Reviana make their body out of earth. This sort of thing might be their speciality. With a burst of strength, Arrow squeezes down on its head. Her nails pierce its body, deforming it. Via. Vihi. The abyss writhing becomes even more violent. Arrow gulps, glaring at it as she prepares herself. Gale. Just as I notice magic power accumulating at the tip of her swollen arm, she cries out and a gale bursts forth. Her fingers and the back of her hand crumble away, and the abyss that was in the center of the effect is sent flying as though flicked away. The crumbling doesn't stop at the back of her hand, but continues up to her shoulder from the backlash of the wind. As she raises her shoulder, her swollen arm crumbles into sand in its entirety, falling to the ground. Then, pushing aside the remains of her swollen arm, her usual, thin arm makes its appearance. That rough arm was a bit shocking but looked pretty useful. Ve. Half of the abyss legs have been lost and it's on its back, leaking body fluids. Its remaining legs expand and contract in an attempt to right itself, but it doesn't look like it'll be able to move anymore. After touching my tail to absorb some magic power, Arrow raises both hands to the abyss. Gale. Receiving a direct hit from the tornado, it flies up into the air, sprinkling cream-colored fluids before crashing into the ground. This is the end for it. Even if it's still alive, it's unable to fight. One more gale should be enough to finish it off. 4 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 44 experience points have been acquired.
What? But I didn't do anything?
No, well I suppose I avoided it, supplied her with magic power, as well strengthened her magic. I was hoping that wouldn't count and it'd all go to Arrow, but it doesn't look like I was so lucky. Though, well, most of it should have gone to her. Name Arrow. Species Reveana Mage. Condition Cursed. LV 17/30. HP 78/84. Mepe 5493. She went from level 14 to 17. I thought her level'd go up a little bit more. Certainly, she's entering the slower mid-levels, and the abyss she killed wasn't all that high level, but to only get 3 levels. I've got Dragon King's Son and Walking Egg, so my sense of what normal progression looks like must be quite off. Perhaps picking up on my disappointment, Arrow hangs her head. And no, thinking about it differently, to go up 3 whole levels is excellent progress. She can achieve that much with just a bit of effort. Indeed, after she reaches level 20, I can know it'll get even harder to level up. But the strength of her magic will increase too. Next time, it'll be easier for her to bring down an abyss, and the time after that it'll be even easier. Since she can absorb my MP, she's got a limitless supply. My missing MP will automatically recover while I rest, after all. Besides, they vanished, but there should still be 2 more of them skulking around here. However, estimating the number of abysses she needs to hunt in order to evolve. At a minimum, it's around 15. At most, it'd be around 30. For the ball rabbit too, getting a D rank was easy, but D to C is a wall. If it was that easy to evolve, there'd be evolved monsters all over the place. I glance at Arrow. Looked at from a distance, she's already pretty much indistinguishable from a human. Next one, it should be the next one. Judging from how the previous evolutions have gone, her appearance in her next evolution should be completely identical to a human. As long as she doesn't get some bizarre evolution. It's because that's what she wants that she's been trying so hard. Should we take a look for the Abyss Nest? If it really does exist, then she'd be able to rake up 30 Abyss kills in no time at all. While the Abyss Menace is present, taking separate action from Arrow, the Lesser Treant, and the Spiderlings is difficult. Besides, I want to live up to the Lithovar's hopes. I can go, probably. I can fight a mountain of abysses while protecting Arrow and the others. I can crush each of them with a single swing of my arm. I'm confident I can take on 10 of them at the same time while taking hardly any damage. I went into that red ant nest, after all. Plus, I'm stronger than I was back then. To be honest, since I've become an Ouroboros, I haven't seen any enemies stronger than me. That hero was a bit dangerous, but with my current status, even with a handicap, I'd be able to hold him down, no problem. About the abysses.
GA.
My partner cries out in apprehension. You're not planning something strange, are you? And no, but with the abysses running rampant, we've got to constantly keep an eye on Arrow and the others. At this rate, if we don't show up at the Lithovar village, they'll get suspicious and will come check on the shrine. When that happens, won't Arrow get found out? In that case, won't it be better if we take action? A look of exhaustion floats on her face. I can empathize with her feelings of not wanting to see abysses. Hey, behind. Hearing her warning, I fire off a wind slash to keep them in check. It strikes empty ground, scattering a splash of dirt. Startled, the 2 abysses that were crawling towards the spiderlings step back. Arrow, can you keep going? You've got 2 more to bring down. Since they're good at erasing their presences, even if it looks like they've run away, they'll keep attacking each time. The next one should show up soon. 276 Stone-fried Graphant Steak.
Gale.
The magic fired from her hands stirs the wind, forming a tornado. The abyss that was about to jump into the undergrowth to hide is repelled and exposed by the tornado. Arrow quickly refills her magic power, then fires off a second attack.
Gale.
Before it's able to return to its feet, a new tornado swoops down on it. Arrow confirms its status while hugging my tail to resupply with magic power. She's starting to grasp the most efficient timing of when to replenish her magic power and when to attack. Thanks to being able to fire off magic in quick succession, her skill levels of Gale and Clay are rising rapidly. She spreads her focus equally in both directions, keeping the two abysses in check, attacking when there's a gap before moving on to replenishing her MP supply. One of two collapses to the ground, spurting body fluids from the fragments of its body. It shivers, but after a few seconds pass, becomes a corpse. 36 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 36 experience points have been acquired.
That's one down.
Arrow quickly moves on to replenishing her MP. The moment the other abyss becomes visible, she raises her arms towards it without waiting for her MP to be fully restored.
Gil. Clay.
Trapping it between a tornado and a wall of earth, she snatches away its means of escape. The abyss is repelled by the tornado, slamming it into the wall, which it rebounds off to be once again be repelled by the tornado. I think she only intended to seal its escape route, but she ended up producing a beautiful combo. 43 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 43 experience points have been acquired. I've been getting a fair amount. Though I suppose by herself, Arrow wouldn't be able to defend against the abyss's attacks, it would be hard for her to stick through real damage, and she wouldn't have nearly enough MP. Maybe it's not being too strict like this. Now then, how much has her level gone up by? Name Arrow. Species Reviana Mage. Condition Cursed. LV 20/30. HP 84/90.
MEP 31/102.
Great, she went from 17 to 20. She's reached the 2/3 mark. Though saying that, it's going to get harder and harder to raise her level from here on. But her magic power is quickly increasing in proportion too. In exchange for it being harder for her level to rise, it's becoming easier for her to inflict damage on abysses. Should I start looking for their nest right away, then? From the precedent Hero Gagaza set, if I just capture one of them alive, it shouldn't be too hard to find their nest.
GA.
My partner lets out a feeble cry. As expected, she'd rather not? For now, let's eat the meat? She stretches out her neck towards the graph ant. Ah, that's right. If we go, it feels like next time we come back, there'll be abyss eggs laid in it. There's none now, right? Don't say something so horrible. Sorry. It's my fault for putting off eating it from the start. While I'm in conversation with my partner, the spiderlings swarm over the abyss corpses. When they finish eating, they quickly sweep over them, leaving their carapaces and legs covered in thread. Just as I'm wondering if they can't eat the legs, I notice a spiderling with a leg sticking out of its mouth. Are they snacks for later? I check there's no eggs or anything in the Griffant's wound. Once that's done, I start work on disassembling it. First off, I drag it to a large boulder and cut off its head with my claw. I make small incisions all over its body, using them as starting points to remove its skin. I then make a long cut down its abdomen, taking out its organs and gathering them in one place. Finally, I tear it open from the back, splitting it into two parts. I pick it up by its tail and swing it around before slamming it repeatedly into the stone to drain the blood. I grew experienced in this sort of work when I was a plague kid dragon. I don't mind the stench of blood at all. When I'm done, I close my eyes and offer thanks to nature and the graph ant in my heart. If I'm going to spend time on it, it might not be a bad idea to borrow some thread from the spiderlings and hang it somewhere. Though that might attract abysses, and judging by how much my partner is drooling, there might not be much left anyway. I cut up the meat into smaller pieces before blowing on the stone with a scorching breath, to heat it up, turning it into a baking stone. It's stone-fried graph ant steak. The meat fizzles and fat drips, and a nice smell hangs in the air. It's the first time I'm having beef since coming to this world. The scent that I haven't smelt in a long time fills me with nostalgia and hunger. My only disappointment is that I can't find any spices in this area. The Lithivars might be getting salt from somewhere. If I get the chance, I'd like to ask them. Since it's such a big size, I can also eat without reservation. Lately I've been letting my partner do most of the eating, so it's particularly delicious. It feels like my stomach is soaked in fats and juices. I get the feeling that strength is welling up from the base of my stomach. Also finding it exceptionally delicious, my partner is biting through with even more fervor than usual. Let's hunt for this again, okay? You really do place your appetite first. No, I understand where you're coming from this time. I prepare some for the spiderlings too, but as soon as they finish eating, they move on to the next meat they find. Whether it's a lump of uncooked meat or internal organs, they dig in without hesitation. I can't tell from their expressions, but I get the feeling they're just happy to be able to eat anything. I also try giving Arrow a small block of meat. She seems a bit bewildered, but suddenly puts it in her mouth. I wonder if she's able to take it in. I thought she fundamentally couldn't eat, though. A sad expression floats on her face, so it probably doesn't have a flavor for her. It's clear from how it looks that the Trent's mouth isn't for taking in food. I've found something tasty, so it feels lonely to not be able to share it. No, I have my partner. I hope Arrow's sense of taste returns soon. 277 Baby Arini. Once we're finished eating, I decide to watch over the remaining mountain of graphant meat from a distance. Searching for an abyss isn't feasible, but luring them out with food should be easy. In order to find their nest, I need to catch an abyss and have it guide me. So my strategy is to lure one out with meat before weakening it with a long-range wind slash. I wanted to eat a bit more. My partner's eyes are fixed on the remaining scraps of meat. That bit's near where the abysses were eating, you know? Guh. But, fire, it was cooked. You've already eaten plenty. My stomach feels heavy already. Me fine. We have the same body though. I glance sideways to see the spiderlings rolling around, their bellies engorged. I'm happy to see they're satisfied at least. While I'm watching the spiderlings frolic about happily, two abysses appear accompanied by unpleasant rustling sound. I wait for the moment they attempt to taste the remains of the graphant meat, then flap my wings to fire off 2 wind slashes. The blades of wind hit the ends of their bodies. A direct hit would have killed them, so I intentionally aimed for their lower halves. The abysses are blown through the air, leaking body fluids, before rolling across the ground and colliding with trees. Ve. The two abysses stagger to their feet. For both of them, most of the legs on one side are gone. Now then, let's have you lead us to your nest. As I triumphantly approach them thinking that, the spiderlings suddenly rush towards them. What are they doing? While I'm too taken aback to react, the 8 spiderlings surround a collapsed abyss and bite at it. Desperate to escape, the abyss bites in every direction. If it responds poorly, there's no mistake that the spiderlings are capable of killing it. However, it's not like the abyss has lost all its combat strength. If they receive its counterattack head-on, it's capable of killing them. The abyss shakes its body, sending the spiderlings flying. Fortunately, it looks like it only put in enough strength to shake them off, as it doesn't look like any of the spiders are heavily damaged. But unwilling to give up, the spiderlings expel thread onto it to limit its movements. The abyss easily tears through the thread, its huge mouth gaping as it moves to attack them. Arrow seemed to be flustered, unsure of what to do, but finally sets her eyes on the spiderlings as though she's made up her mind. I think she understood that I damaged the abysses in order to take them prisoner. She moves to run towards the abyss that's about to reach the spiderlings, but I stop her with my foreleg. I send a wind slash towards its head. 8 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 88 experience points have been acquired. Well, there's still one left, so it's fine, right? The moment strength fades from the abyss body, the spiderlings swarm over its corpse. What's with their appetites? Won't their bodies burst? I sigh thinking that, and the spiderlings charge towards the other abyss. They stop 2 steps away from it and fire thread towards its thin legs. They must have learned from being sent flying earlier. With half its body gouged out, the abyss struggles to avoid them, but becomes surrounded by the 8 of them and is unable to resist. The thread flows and flows until finally 2 of its legs are stuck together and none of its remaining legs are able to move. With its movements completely sealed, the 8 spiderlings carefully launch attacks from its blind spots. Have you guys still not eaten enough? Or what, is it some kind of instinct? When they see a weakened monster, do they feel a need to prey on it while they can? Before I have a chance to stop them, the second abyss becomes a white thread dumpling. It's their emergency rations. The area around its mouth moves feebly up and down. Seeing that, one of the spiderlings reinforces the thread. They really are merciless. For that matter, it'll be a problem if you kill it. Well, the spiderlings are only E-rank monsters in the end. With the difference in status, it'll be hard for them to inflict a lethal wound, so once they've calmed down I'll extract it and rescue it. 63 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 63 experience points have been acquired. Abyssus. It died by suffocation. That would happen, yeah. Hey, I'm begging you, spiderlings. I want to take an abyss alive. I'll have to catch one again. If I don't educate them, they really won't be able to leave my hand. They're only low rank now, so it's fine, but once they're grown up, if they attack the lithivars it'd go beyond just a joke. How should I go about implementing a spider education? The spiderlings look away from the balled-up abyss and sway as they move around restlessly.
Could this be?
I'm getting a bad premonition. Species, baby Arini. Condition, normal.
LV, 12/12.
HP, 9/30.
MEPE, 1/28.
It's gone and reached evolution. No way, is it all of them? It's got to be all of them, since they all took the same actions. With this timing, as Eranks, I knew they'd evolve right away if I had them hunt an injured abyss, but to do it now. No, when I'm in the abyss nest, I need them to be able to defend themselves when we're separated for a bit, so if they were just Eranks I'd be anxious. In that sense it might be just the right time. 278, the spiderling's evolution. The spiderlings move back and forth in the same spot without settling down, each of them fidgeting suspiciously. One of them unsteadily staggers towards me. My partner lowers her head and it comes closer to her. Rather than me, she's its objective. She's the one who picked them up at the start, and she's the first one they saw when they hatched, so I wonder if it knows that. But it's not like it does anything, it just clings to her head. What's the matter with these guys? She looks at me in concern.
They're fine.
It's probably just their evolution. With this timing, that's all it could be. I convey with my thoughts, and she tilts her head to the side as she looks over them. Can she not see their statuses? I could teach her. No, it's a skill, so her body should know how to use it instinctively. It might be like how I can't use soul appendment or death. While I'm watching them, the spiderlings all stop moving in unison. Their heads and abdomens shiver, and then their legs start shivering too.
GA.
My partner lets out a cry of worry. She casts high rest on the nearest one. No, I don't think that'd help. Though saying that, I also have no idea what's going to happen. I continue to watch over them in worry until the shivering of one of them subsides. Naturally, I focus my gaze on that one. The spiderling's body starts swelling up. It was smaller than 2 human hands pressed together, grows to be as large as a medium-sized dog. Unable to bear the strain, a tear opens up in the skin of its head. Its body surface peels away from its head, exposing its body. The skin exposed on its head is tender like a newborn's. Exposed to the air, it expands and contracts sensitively. By squinting my eyes, I can make out a thin fuzz of hair. This must be that molting thing. I was wondering what was happening. Stretching its body, the skin covering its abdomen separates too, almost as if it's getting out of a costume. Finally it falls over while wriggling its legs to complete its escape from its old skin. It gets up and shakes its body again. Exposed to the air, its skin slowly hardens. Starting with first's escape from its skin, the remaining 7 shed theirs one after the other, each of them falling to the side as they kick off their old skin. Once they're fully escaped, their bodies shake as they grow accustomed to the outside air, then as though it's a matter of course, they turn and start eating away at their own cast-off skins. Somehow it feels like I've witnessed something precious. Though if you were to ask me if I'd like to see it again, I'd have to decline by saying I've already seen a lifetime's worth. These kids, aren't they a little too greedy for food? Now that I think about it, both the ball rabbit and my partner are gluttons. For that matter, the whole reason things got complicated with the orange monkeys in the first place was because they were stealing my dried meat, not to mention the time the black lizard's head got stuck in a jar of poison, legs wriggling desperately. I'm a human inside, so even when I was weak, I had the knowledge to create preserved foods, so I might be a bit naive about matters of starvation. I need to be grateful for never being troubled for food. None of their designs have changed, all of them having a vivid green body surface. They're continuing down the Arini line, I think. Arini are meant to have a peaceful disposition, though. Their parent Arini was bigger than a human. As they are now, they're only as big as a medium-sized dog at best. To reach their parent's form, probably one more evolution is needed. Once they're fully evolved, they might calm down a bit, so I'll look forward to that. As a test, I check the status of one of them. Species, Kid Arini 1. Condition, normal. LV, 1/30. HP, 5/25. MEPE, 2/13. Attack, 33. Defense, 18. Magic, 24. Speed, 36. Rank, D. Characteristic skills. Automatic HP recovery, LV1. Resistance skills. Physical resistance, LV1. Normal skills.
Bài, LV2 Spider Z, LV2 Z Dajuma 2 LV1 Numbing Z, LV1.
Title skills. Simple Innocence, LV, Pet of the Evil Dragon, LV, Thread Expert, LV1 Combination, LV3 Abyss Eater Frowny Face 3 LV1. Aha, a Kidarini. Now that I think about it, I get the feeling there was a kid system in my previous evolutions. It gives me a nostalgic feeling somehow. I wonder if when I was a Plague Kid Dragon, I was also in the kid system. Their evolution probably goes Baby Arini, Kid Arini, Arini. For now, please restore their HP, partner. When I lower my gaze, I see my partner with her chin on the ground, confronting a black something. The black something squirms with a rustling sound, closing the distance to her. Startled, she bends backwards, but a black thread is stuck to her scales and stretches out.
Gah. Gah.
Surprised, she shakes her head. What is that? That's a spider, right? I count the Kidarini and find there's only 7. One's missing. Probably, it's the spiderling that was close to my partner before it evolved. Only one of them evolved strangely? I look at it in doubt, and a pure white human face glares back at me.
Girl?
I let out a cry of surprise. When I look more closely, I realize the black spider only has a white face-like thing on it. Below the face is a mouth, and above it are 8 crimson eyes. Rather than a face, is it more like a shell? The white-coated mask has a thin, crescent moon mouth, giving it the appearance of a creepy smile. What is this spider? Species, Petit Nightmare. Condition, normal. LV, 145. HP, 58/58. Mepe, 2 Attack, 60. Defense, 48. Magic, 65. Speed, 45. Rank, D+. Characteristic skills. Dark Attribute, LV- Automatic HP Recovery, LV1 Poison Band, LV2. Resistance skills. Physical Resistance, LV1 Magic Resistance, LV2 Poison Resistance, LV4 Curse Resistance, LV2. Normal skills.
Poison Fang, LV2 Spider Z, LV2 Alicon 4, LV1 Z Dajuma, LV1 Poison Z, LV2.
Title skills. Pet of the Evil Dragon, LV- Threadmaster, LV4 Malicious, LV- Mutation, LV- Obsession, LV5 Cunning, LV4 Abyss Eater, LV2.
What is this?
Its status is totally different. Why's it got so many skills? 1. The Ikid here is written in English rather than the Z, KO used in Plague Kid Dragon. 2. Daruma, those little red dolls of good luck. 3. Abyss here is written with the Japanese word Shinyuan, Shernan, rather than the English used in the name of the monsters. 4. This is the same skill that the Dark Worms had all the way back in Chapter 2. Chapter 279. 279 Petit Nightmare. Petit Nightmare, des plus rank monsters. An evolved form which is rarely reached by individuals that are raised in a harsh environment and receive the influence of powerful magic. Its skills are abundant and its status is high, but it is most feared for its high intelligence and obsessiveness. If left alone, it will be too much to handle, so among adventurers, it is recommended that one subjugates it even if that requires chasing it far. However, regardless of whether or not they know the circumstances, there are many cases of such humans chasing it to find it calmly waiting for them in a trap. I check out the details of the masked spider, but it's really nothing good. For that matter, why doesn't it mention the mask attached to its face at all? What is that thing? What happens if it's torn off? No, the problem isn't about small details like that. Unaware of my attention, the masked spider continues to cling to my partner as usual. With it like this, I can only see it as simple-minded and innocent, but its skills and species explanation are way too scary. A harsh environment. Strong magical interference. Was it harsh? I can only think it joyfully plunged itself into danger each time of its own accord. The strong magical interference. Well, that's probably my fault. It could be because of the frequent high rests or the high rest my partner hit it with just before evolution, or it could be the influence of the dragon scales curse. There's too many possibilities that I can't begin to narrow it down. It could be like how when the ball rabbit evolved into a peach ball rabbit, it had the curse resistance skill. It's not really a situation where I can be delighted that it's gotten strong. When they finished growing up, I would have accomplished the duty given to me by their parent Arini and could release them, but while the Arini that are meant to be gentle-natured are one thing, I can't delightedly release a petit nightmare that lures adventurers into traps. Fortunately, because it's got curse resistance, I can keep it close by indefinitely. It looks like it's enamored with my partner too. It was written that it's obsessive, but if its grudges run deep, then its love also runs deep, probably. I'm scared of things turning sour in the future, but it hasn't approached me at all, so I'll leave you to do your best, partner. You're the one who first said you wanted to keep them, and you're the one who was jealous of me getting along with the ball rabbit. Aren't you glad your wish came true?
Ik lenser her.
The masked spider is riding on her head.
Kiki kiki.
I hear a metallic sound from the masked spider. That's the sound of its cry, I suppose. I feel a bit uncomfortable, so I look closely and see a number of purplish-red spots emerging on her face. For some reason my head's a bit itchy.
Oh.
Please try your best, I'm rooting for you.
That's poisonous, so please be careful.
Thanks to poison resistance, the rash doesn't stand out, and thanks to automatic HP recovery, it fades on its own.
Ah, yeah.
If anything, it's perfect for building up more resistance. I haven't solved my worries, but let's resume the search for the abyss nest. That's not a problem I can keep at bay after all. Since we're living in this forest, there's no other way to hide Arrow and the others from the Lithivars and also protect them from abysses that attack without warning. My options are only to level them to the point where they can easily repel an abyss or to destroy the abyss nest. My only clue for finding the nest is to bet on their homing instinct like in the tale about Hero Gagaza. Both of them died though, so I've got to find a new one.
I isn't that easy then?
My partner's thoughts but into mine.
Oh? What is it? Gah.
With her cry, the lump of thread in which an abyss suffocated to death is infused with a faint black light. The lump squirms and wriggles. See, could this be? Title skill Path of Evil has risen from level 7 to 8. Title skill Mean King has risen from level 8 to 9. No matter how I think about it, that was a soul appendment fake life.
Just a moment, partner San? Was that bad?
She asks apologetically.
Yeah.
All I've really been doing is prattling on, but that skill's not one I want to use if I can help it, I mean. I can't really put it into words though. But Mean King is now one step before max. With this, I can't make a single mistake. No, I don't know what happens when it maxes out. Since it's revived, there's no helping it for now. Reviving enemy forces to get them to divulge the location of their base, I really am conforming to a villainous pattern here. I can't help but understand why this raised the level of Mean King. It would be too cruel if it died from suffocation a second time, so I tear open the lump of thread with my claw. From inside, the abyss staggers out. Species Abyss Zombie. Condition Cursed. LV 1/12. HP 17/17. Mepe, Chinch. Uamu, an easy-to-understand name, is fine. Anyway, it's not F rank. Abyss Zombie, a rank monster. A monster produced by the possession of an abyss corpse by an evil spirit. It poses almost no danger at all.
A rank.
Is there some relation to its previous rank? No, I was just considering that I don't really want to use it.
V-A-R.
Just as I think its eyes are staring at me, it starts walking towards me on its remaining legs. I still can't get used to this skill. The spiders approach the abyss zombie for a second time. Could they be thinking about wrapping it up and eating it again? I try to brush them away with my hand, but there's 7 of them, so there's no end.
Kiki. Ki.
The masked spider on my partner's head makes a strange noise. Startled, the spiders tremble, then totter away from the abyss zombie. Do those guys listen to the masked spider? As fellow spiders, they might be able to understand each other. It seems it saw I was struggling to keep them away and lent a hand. As the species explanation went, it's meant to be particularly intelligent for a spider. Kiki. Even if I look at it, it just makes a shrill cry. The thin smile on its mask doesn't change at all either. It's creepy somehow, that mask. It won't band together with the Arini and overthrow me, will it? The next moment, the abyss zombie takes aim at the withdrawn spiders, its mouth gaping open. The edge of its mouth is torn and body fluids gush out. Panicked, I flick it with my foreleg, knocking it down. The abyss zombie gets up and bears its hostility at me too. This is no good. It looks like a good number of Arrow's memories remain from her past life, so there's a good chance some of the abyss zombie's instincts or memories of its death remain. It looks like it'll be difficult to have it guide me voluntarily. Should I try threatening it one time? Go! I amass magic power in my throat, firing off a powerful roar. There's a burst of activity in the surrounding area, then a moment later everything is silent. The abyss zombie which received the roar from the front trembles, unable to move. Normal skill roar has risen from level 2 to 3. That roar just now felt good. With a bit more practice, I think I can improve its power even more. It's perfect for driving away weaker monsters, so it might not be a bad idea to practice it a bit. The abyss zombie turns around and starts fleeing unsteadily. I'm a bit reluctant, but I suppose I'll chase after it. 280 Abyss Pursuit. I continue to follow the abyss zombie. Its movement speed is slow because of its torn-off legs and low status, so it's easy to chase. If anything, it's annoyingly slow. My partner sends a few glares of irritation to it. The spiders were doing as they pleased until the nightmare glared at them and they quickly assembled. I really am glad they've got a leader now.
Yeah, it's good.
My partner replies, looking a bit worn out. Well, please hang in there. While looking at the nightmare's mask thing or shell thing, I suddenly think of something. When it evolves, will that face look even more stern, I wonder? For that matter, its next evolution's its last, right? If it evolves 2 more times, it'd probably be around B rank. I can't imagine it, but I expect it'd look seriously monstrous. My partner, who it's clinging to, springs to mind and I softly close my eyes. Don't like thinking about other people's problems. There's no helping it. When keeping a pet, you pass through the cute puppy stage in no time at all. It doesn't take much effort at all to chase after the abyss zombie. But the other monsters that show up en route give more trouble. I slice them up with Wind Slash to convert them to experience points or use Roar to keep them away and protect the abyss zombie. While I'm protecting it, the way the abyss zombie frantically keeps running ahead doesn't make it look entirely uncute. My desire to protect it is welling up, or rather I'm finally getting used to its gross appearance and, since I revived it, I have a responsibility to it, so I'm getting a sense of duty. Are you thinking something strange? My partner glares at me through narrowed eyes. And no, I was just wondering what an abyss would be like when it evolved. I hate it. But see, since we revived it, we've got a duty. I hate it. She hurls her thought at me. Right, well, that would be the case. In the first place, I don't get what you mean when by duty. It's just a corpse that's moving a bit. She looks unashamedly at the abyss zombie. Then she looks at Arrow with the same eyes. Frightened by her gaze, Arrow's body shivers. Uninterested, she returns her gaze to the front. Because she was born as an Ouroboros, reviving and killing for food might feel the same to her. From the start, her instinctive behavior has stood out. Though if either of us are strange, it would be me who has notions remaining from my previous life as a human. Well, if you don't like something, I can hold back. Oh, thanks. Somehow sorry. But I hate Abyss. Besides, didn't it try and attack us earlier? No, but I checked and it's also got Servant of the Evil Dragon. The Treant listens to my orders, so I think it's got some effect. It might also have some sense of being protected during this journey too. At times, the Abyss zombie looks back and stops moving. I can't read an Abyss facial expressions, but maybe something's changing inside it. Hate it. Ah, understood. The further we go, the steeper the route becomes. There's fields of pretty flowers, inhabited by swarms of strangely glowing insects. Twisted trees block my path. I didn't realize the forest had a place like this. Once things have calmed down, I'd like to restart the exploration in this area. Dorea. Dorea. From far away, I hear a strange cry that sounds like a dull noise echoing in a hollow cavity. A moment later, the sound of thuds resound from far away.
What is it?
I'm getting a sense of déjà vu, or rather it sounds nostalgic somehow. No, but that cry. Straining my eyes in the direction of the cry, I make out a huge yellow ochre body. At the end of a long neck it's got a head that has cavities where I should be. I've got an idea of what that strange creature might be. Clay Dragon, C+ rank monster. A monster born of Earth. It is strong and its regeneration ability is particularly high. The Demon Lord's prank brings terror to people. As expected, it's a clay type. Drea. Well, all it can do is call out stupidly. What's Dara? You're giving dragons a bad name. Shouldn't you be shouting Maura? Either way, I'm grateful to be able to collect that much magical earth. Another time, when I have the opportunity, I'd like to go pick it up. Now that I have humanized hands to work with, my firepower is way greater than before. I'm sure I'll be able to make some splendid pottery. It seems the clay dragon is territorial and is trying to provoke me from a distance, but I'll ignore it this time. It roars out in triumph, but I don't pay it any mind. I've engraved this place in my memories, though. While that's going on, the path continues to steepen. The twisted, hard trees become more common, and the ground gradually gets harder and harder. I see a number of half-eaten, bloodied monster corpses. Finally, we reach a huge cliff. Rather than a cliff, it's more like a fissure in the ground. The Abyss Zombie glances back, then descends down the cliff. 281 Abyss Siege. Once I've seen that the Abyss has made it safely down the cliff, I turn to look at Arrow and the others. After confirming they're ready with eye contact, I follow it down the cliff myself. The cliff is more or less completely vertical, so I descend carefully by digging into the cliff with my claws. The spiders are good at this kind of terrain, as they crawl freely across the cliff face. The lesser treant also moves carefully by spreading its roots. I notice I can't spot Arrow. Thinking that she's not coming down, I pause. The Abyss Zombie doesn't stop, but I don't think I need any more guidance from here. Probably, once I get to the bottom, the Abyss nest will be right in front of me. I hear the sound of impacts coming from my blind spot. I turn my head to see Arrow with 3 arms sprouting out of her back. The arms are each as wide as her head and have fiendishly sharp claws at the ends of their fingers. To avoid tearing her clothes, she's pulled back her sleeves to expose her shoulders. Her clothes are originally just picked-up rags, so they stretch easily. And then from the gap created by pulling back her sleeves, 3 arms are extending. It's quite the grotesque spectacle. When I meet her eyes, her shoulder quivers and she leaks a small noise. She might be embarrassed to be seen with arms sprouting from her clothes, or rather from her back. She probably doesn't like being seen without a humanoid body. Pretending I didn't see anything, I look back down. Ve. Vea. Vi? Far below us, the Abyss Zombie and some abysses are meeting face to face. The abysses number 3. Wondering where they came from, I scan the surroundings. A good few of the twisted, hard trees are sprouting from the cliff face, and abysses could easily be hiding behind them. Remembering that this place is their nest, I change my state of mind. Gatson, zugga. I hear a terrible sound and involuntarily look back up. I meet Arrow's eyes again. It seems she was about to fall, because she stabs her claws deep into the cliff and clings to it closely. Apparently startled by sudden turning around, her body twitches and her claws separate from the cliff face. Her body falls through the air. Panicked, I spread out my wings to catch her. But before that, she lands on the lesser treant's back, breaking her fall. Arrow jerks up to look at me. Gwil! I cry out apologetically, bowing my head. From the lesser treant's back, she hurriedly shakes her head, waving her arms and legs. She probably didn't mean to blame me. It looks like she's decided to ride the lesser treant down. The huge arms sprouting from her back slowly withdraw into her body. She pulls down her loose sleeves, restoring her clothes. Once she's ready, I return to looking down. That reminds me, the Abyss. I was too distracted by Arrow and forgot to be vigilant. Gwa? The Abyss Zombie looks at me, baring its broken teeth. Viha. Ve. With a pair, it spits its body fluids at me. Guessing from its actions, I can tell my situation is far from favorable. Feeling a cold shiver, I look up. Abysses line the edge of the cliff. They're evenly spaced alongside each other. With a sense of foreboding, I look around. From every direction, abysses are appearing in groups. The gaps between them are big, but we're surrounded. From a quick estimate, there's easily over 50 of them. Several hundreds of legs squirm, creating an unpleasant sound. We're under siege. I was planning on attacking from here, and then if there wasn't enough of a leeway, I'd run away, but I got besieged before I noticed. What's more, it's in a place with such bad footing. I should have been more careful from the start when the Abyss Zombie showed hostility. Via. Their disturbing cries overlap, becoming a dissonance that disrupts my thoughts. They completely caught me off guard. From how they've always launched themselves at me despite being lower rank, I didn't think they were very intelligent. I've been had. In the first place, the reason they launch themselves at the higher rank me is to lay their eggs in me. From their actions so far, I can guess the deaths of individual abysses don't weigh heavily on them. As long as their offspring can prosper, then, like the red ants, they don't mind what happens to them personally. I've had plenty of leeway in my fights with them so far, so I was naive. The one gnashing its teeth in provocation at me is the abyss zombie. Probably it told them that I was headed here. On the way here, I drove off many abysses. It might have told them at those times. I hate myself for even considering raising it. The abyss zombie pivots, raising its rear to me before crawling towards its allies. But it suddenly stops walking. As I watch it from a distance, I can somehow guess what's about to happen. The abyss's eyes are fixed on the strange abyss zombie. The moment the abyss zombie steps back, 5 abysses leap at it. Its dying cry rings out. The remains of the abyss zombie plunge to the bottom of the chasm. It seems that not only do abysses eat the corpses of their allies, they also eat zombies of their allies too. But this is no time to feel sorry for it. If I lose focus, we'll end up with the same fate.
Gah!
I kick off the wall, spreading my wings to hang in the air. With footing that bad, I can't protect Arrow and the others from this many abysses. It's unfortunate for my enemies and allies, but I'm going to fight from a safe distance.
Gah!
Lowering my altitude, I howl at Arrow. She jumps down. I move closer to the wall, catching her on my back. Alright, now I can snipe at the abysses with Arrow's assistance. Ideally, I'd rather collect everyone and retreat. Collecting all the panicked spiders and getting away would be difficult. Either way, I need to reduce the abyss's numbers. As I'm thinking that, something launches itself at me. Kiki! Following Arrow, something strange has dropped onto me. It's the Petit Nightmare. Using its thread as a wire, it jumped down. No, I wanted you to take command of the spiders, though. 3 abysses come diving down, and I strike them with my tail, sending them soaring into the opposite cliff face. No matter how you look at it, I'm not letting you guys on. Glancing at the abysses I sent flying, I see they're on the verge of death, but still twitching. They're pretty tough, these guys. 282 Abyss Army. The abysses swarm towards the lesser treant and spiders left behind on the wall. Hanging in the air, I flap my wings together to fire wind slashes to keep in check the abysses that start to attack the spiders and lesser treant, while also inflicting damage. The abysses are crushed by the blades of wind, sticking them to the wall while body fluids spurt out. 456 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 456 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 72 to 73. I promptly get 3 abysses worth of experience. See, could this be the perfect hunting grounds? Their attacks can't reach me, and it's not like they can fly either. No, the only reason they're gathering is because the lesser treant and spiders are in danger.
Urach!
156 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 156 experience points have been acquired. Aura! 192 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 192 experience points have been acquired. Soria! 138 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 138 experience points have been acquired. Uria! 204 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 204 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 73 to 74. Title skill Pest Killer has risen from level 5 to 6. I steadily shave away at the 50 or so abysses. Climbing over the corpses of their fallen comrades, new abysses draw close to the lesser treant. On my back, Arrow fires off her biggest gale yet, which drops the abysses together with parts of the wall, while the Petit Nightmare fires off a thread which sticks to the back of an abyss, pulling it to make it fall to the bottom. The spiders, the Kitarini, move around as they please, spewing out thread to make a simple web to stop their approach. I fire wind slashes, aiming for the moment their speed drops as they enter the web. The way the spiders are scattered around worries me, but myself included, there are 3 of us that can use long-range attacks, so even if I take my eyes off them for a moment, they should be fine. Mainly, I strike the abysses with wind slashes, while Arrow and the Petit Nightmare deal with the ones I miss. My partner covers for the ones that still slip through with death and high rest. One by one, the abysses fall to the bottom of the chasm. My level keeps on rising, going from 74 to 75, then from 75 to 76. Before I notice it, I reach level 78 in no time at all. Although they're able to put up a good fight, the lesser treant and spiders are gradually driven into the center. But as the field of battle narrows, it becomes easier for me to aim for abysses. Besides, there's only a few left. I'll take them out at once.
Goohoo!
I roar to call out to Arrow and the Petit Nightmare. They stop moving and cling to my back. I pour the maximum amount of magic power into my wings, then push it all out in one go. I struggle to maintain my balance in the air as I am assailed by the recoil of using wind slash in both wings. I swing my tail forwards, rolling backwards to kill my momentum as I restore my posture in the air. The 2 huge blades of wind pulverize 4 abysses together with the cliff face. 450 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 450 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 78 to 79. Title skill Pest Killer has risen from level 6 to 7. Normal skill Wind Slash has risen from level 5 to 6. The place where the abysses were climbing is gouged out, turning it into a huge depression. Bits of legs and sand fall down. Only about 10 abysses remain. Just as I think we're reaching the conclusion of the battle, a huge abyss comes crawling out of a hole in the wall. It's about twice the size of the other abysses. It's a fair bit slower than the normal ones, but there's a mysterious dignity to the way it steadily pushes on, step by step. Just as I'm wondering what it is, another one crawls out of a different hole. They've appeared directly above and below the lesser treant and spiders surrounding them. Crawling on their many legs, they calmly head towards the lesser treant. Their hoarse cries sound like an Ossen scream. What are these guys? Are they some kind of superior variant? Heavy Abyss C+ rank monster. An evolution reached by large abyss individuals that eat a lot. Its body surface is terrifically solid and cannot be easily pierced. It is often processed as a shield. Heavy Abyss. An abyss specialized in defense. So they had that sort of variety? I've already seen enough of them though. The cry of the huge abysses riles up the others, causing them to charge towards the lesser treant even more fervently. One of the abysses crawls down the wall as though to flee, but it gets trampled underfoot as it passes.
Gil!
The tornado arrow produces with my magic power attacks the lower of the heavy abysses. With a cracking sound, the surface of the wall breaks apart. But although the heavy abyss is stopped for a second, it unwaveringly continues on. Her level's gone up and the power of her magic's increased, but she can't inflict a single wound on it. I hurriedly fire off a wind slash. The blade of wind cleaves its back. A huge crack opens up and body fluids spurt out. But even with that injury, it continues to advance. Putting more magic power into my wing, I prepare a new wind slash. As the heavy abysses approach the spider web, they step on the corpses of their allies to avoid having to step on it, but as they get closer to the center they runs out of corpses to walk over and give up. In order to break free from the stickiness, they take large steps, raising their legs up high. As they do, a thread sticks to the back of the higher up of the heavy abysses. It's the Petit Nightmare's thread. The Petit Nightmare is clinging tightly to my back, so I fire my amassed wind slash into the lower down of the heavy abysses, using the recoil to launch myself backwards. Pulled by the thread, the upper heavy abyss is torn from the wall. Its deep dying scream echoes as it swings to the opposite wall like a pendulum. Ki. Part way through its swing, the thread is cut. The heavy abyss's huge body plummets and thuds against the bottom of the chasm. 156 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 156 experience points have been acquired. This spider's got a pretty nasty way of fighting. Perhaps because I was the one who pulled the thread, some of the experience points were also distributed to me. Unable to withstand the second wind slash, the other heavy abyss slides down while spurting out body fluids. Vevav. It falls faster and faster until a few of its legs fly off and it disappears from sight. Finally, like before, it ends with a dull thud. 250 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 250 experience points have been acquired. You guys aren't suited for this nest, probably. Seeing the ungainly way their reinforcement-heavy abysses fall, the other abysses finally start to retreat. I'm pretty worn out too, so I'll head above and rest for a while. I don't know how many dozens of wind slashes I've fired off. Arrows also sucked up a fair bit of my magic power. I want to recover my MP. Go! When I tiredly stretch out my head and rest it on the ground, Arrow descends from my back and touches my face with her hand in concern. A little while later, the lesser treant and spider come crawling out. Ah, that's right. I need to check how much their levels have gone up. They all fought quite hard this time. They should have gotten a decent amount of experience points. Dash the Dragon God Shrine. Ouroboros ALV79/125 was LV72. Revanna Mage DLV/30 was LV20. Lesser Trent DLV/25 was LV6. Petit Nightmare D plus LV/45 was LV1. Kidarini DLV/30 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 was LV1. 283 A temporary ceasefire. To begin with, I'll check the spider's levels. Exhausted, they move listlessly. Despite their exhaustion, I see them carrying abyss bits in their mouths. Species Kidarini. Condition normal. LV 9/30. HP for 57s. Mepe 2/36. Ooh, it went up quite a bit. I take a look at a few more of them and, though there's some variation, they're all around the same level. Next up, I take a look at the Petit Nightmare, which is still clinging to my partner. Species Petit Nightmare. Condition normal. LV 12/45. HP 23/101. Mepe 2/93. Ooh, it's really got the hang of this. It was flinging them down with its thread from a safe area, disrupting the battlefield. Next up, Trent Sands. Species Lesser Treant. Condition cursed. LV 11/25. HP 19/75. Mepe 2/6. Ah, it didn't go up much. It should have already been level 9 before going down the cliff, right? No, well, it's harder to raise it from a higher level, so it can't be helped, but you're being overtaken by your Petit Nightmare Kohai, you know? Though I think it's just that the Petit Nightmare was starting from a lower level, so its level went up faster. Seeing my facial expression, the Lesser Trent's eye-like cavities warp, and it bends its trunk as though bowing in apology. Caught up in the moment, I bow my head as well. And no, everyone's always saved by you at every crucial moment. Please continue to take care of everyone. And now, what's important is Arrow. She was level 20. So to be able to evolve, she would need to have raised her level by 10. She contributed quite a bit to the fight with her repeated magic, but the amount of experience points she needs to progress is quite severe. Almost always, it seems the amount of experience needed jumps up every 10 levels. It'd be great if she's gotten past that hump though. Name Arrow. Species Revanna Mage. Condition cursed. LV 28/30. HP 69/114. Mepe 15/112. 2 more to go. She hasn't reached evolution yet, but it's more or less within her reach. Those 50 won't have been the entirety of their forces. That must have just been their vanguard. Just 50 is not enough to account for their out-of-control propagation in this forest, after all. It's most likely that more abysses lie in wait at the bottom of this chasm. After pulling through the next round, there's no doubt that Arrow will be able to evolve. We're finally getting to that point. I stare at her head. At the start, she was just a skeleton. Then she evolved into a skeleton that can wield magic, and from that, even though her skin's poor quality and her hair's dry, she managed to achieve a human form. Probably, she'll be indistinguishable from a normal human with her next evolution. She has some lingering attachment to her human body, but I don't know the reason for that. I don't know if it's her natural instinct as a human to want to have a living body, or if she might have some other regret. I get the feeling that even though she's now able to explain her reason for wanting a human body, she's hesitating to tell me for some reason. Even if she really manages to get a human body, that won't necessarily mean she's achieved her goal. Of course, no matter what her goal is, even though it looks like it'll be difficult, I'll do my best to help. Not wanting her undead face to be looked at too much, she hangs her head shyly.
GA.
I quietly apologize. Then I take a few steps forwards and peer down the cliff. The bottom is distant and dark, so I can't see clearly, but it looks like it flattens out. Hard blackish tree roots are sprouting out of the wall here and there, and the wall's surface is peppered with holes. I also see a few things that look like monster corpses. Moreover, the complete silence of the place is eerie. When I search around with presence perception, it feels like the chasm bottom is a blank space cut off from the world, producing a peculiar sense of discomfort. Abysses have a skill to obscure their presences, but when so many of them gather and use it together, it produces the illusion of being detached from the world. Somehow, I understand why they're called abyss. Arrow excluded, it might be better to leave everyone behind. Even if they're attacked, if they fight with the Petit Nightmare as their center and the others as support, they should be able to deal with a single abyss. That's only restricted to a single abyss, but as long as I return the moment I sense a presence above, it should be fine. For now, I get my partner to heal everyone to full with high rest. Once she's done, I get Arrow to suck up my MP, stopping when a black light starts leaking from her body.
Gah.
I bark at the Petit Nightmare. It was crawling towards my partner, but turns to face me upon hearing my voice. I turn to look to the side. Following my line of sight, the Petit Nightmare looks in the same direction. At the end of my line of sight are the spiders eating the remains of the abysses they brought back. It looks like it understands that I'm asking it to babysit, but despite that, the Petit Nightmare abruptly turns away from me and spits out its threat to move to my partner's head. Hey partner, do you mind asking? After a brief interval she nods her head, then raises her eyes high. GA. Hearing her voice, the Petit Nightmare jumps down and faces her.
Kiki. Kiki.
After crying out, it moves to join the other spiders. It looks like she was able to ask it. I turn to face Arrow. Meeting my eyes, she glances at the cliff in confirmation, then nods as though she's resolved herself. Though I don't know whether that's the resolve to plunge into the depths of the chasm or the resolve to do whatever it takes to get back her human body. 284 Abyss Lair. With Arrow on my back, I kick off the edge of the cliff to jump down. I quickly spread my wings, slowing my fall as I cautiously face the bottom. I feel around with the presence perception, and as I draw closer to the bottom, I start recognizing abyss presences. A cold chill runs down my spine. It feels like I'm getting goosebumps on my scales.
V.
Abysses cry out quietly from the bottom, their cries echoing off the chasm walls. The further down I go, the damper and darker it becomes. Before long, I'm able to see abysses crowding around the bottom. I thought I'd gotten used to them, but with so many jostling about, it's wearing away at my spirit. Perhaps to threaten me, they're glaring at me while gnashing their teeth and drooling. I reflexively look away. More abysses come crawling out of holes in the cliff face and bear their hostility towards me. This distance should be enough. Get them good, Arrow. Arrow was leaning forwards, her hand on my back to suck up magic power. I signal her with my eyes, and she responds with a slight nod, getting to her feet.
Clea.
She raises a hand to an area where they're particularly tightly packed. A pillar of earth erupts, pushing through the crowd. They fly through the air, leaking body fluids. It doesn't look like any of them died in that attack, but a fair few of them have taken serious wounds.
Gale.
The panicked abysses are scattered by the tornado. Distracted by the change in the terrain, they fail to brace themselves in time and are slammed into the cliff wall. At this rate, this should go well, is what I thought, but then something terrible appears in an area they were swarming. It's a yellowed, huge dragon skeleton. The eye sockets and rib cage are covered with a mysterious fat yellow thread, and a number of small, disgustingly vivid green, slightly transparent abysses cling to the inside. They must be their larval form. Though their bodies are green, the tips of their heads and rears are completely orange. With all their orange legs tangled up, it looks a bit like ramen. Those long legs and the mysterious thick yellow threads are tangled together. It's all too sickening, and I don't want to look too closely. Oh! With her head tilted to the side, my partner cries out mournfully. It's probably the remains of a dragon that got brought down by abysses and had eggs laid in it. If I died here, I'd end up the same way. So I don't want to die here.
For the time being, that's fine. That much is fine.
No, it's not fine, but I can put it to the side for now. The problem is that dragon skeleton has 2 heads.
Dragon, God Sama?
Arrow mumbles quietly.
I got eaten.
I'd heard that it had suddenly gone off somewhere, but it went and got eaten by abysses.
What were you doing, seriously?
I raise my altitude, creating some distance from the remains of what could well be the deceased dragon god Sama. Abysses dive down towards me, but I flick them away with my wings. Arrow's also dazed from shock.
For that matter, how do I explain this to Arrow?
For that matter, is that really dragon god Sama? Could it maybe be 2 corpses stacked up on top of each other? Should I check with a status inspection? Amphi's frowny face 1C+ rank monster. A mild-natured, 2-headed dragon. As it prefers to eat abysses which cause harm to people, it has a tendency to be worshipped by the people living in the forest. As the Amphis is not very intelligent, without knowing the meaning, it is innocently pleased.
Dragon God Samaya? What should I do?
Dragon God Sama was weaker than I thought. I was sure it was B at the lowest, but like this it's just food for the abysses. It had wings, so maybe with the right skills it was able to manage. No, it ended up like this because it was unable to manage. That explains why it wouldn't fight the Manticore. It would be completely impossible. From the start, Dragon God Sama only wanted to help the humans by eating abysses. I finally know why Hibby wasn't suspicious of me at all, even though I spoke with her so much with telepathy. Originally, Dragon God Sama didn't speak at all. If anything, she probably felt something was off when I asked so many questions. I wonder if the change in generations is normal. It's not a single person, dragon, but rather a characteristic of all Amphises. That explains the time gap they're waiting for a different Amphis to arrive. If anything, isn't it strange that there's never been 2 of them?
Huh?
But then the Manticore's sacrifices. Well, I'll think about it later. For now, I have to focus on the abysses in front of me. I shift my attention to Arrow on my back. She's comparing me to the dragon god in confusion, but when she meets my eyes she shakes her head slightly and stands up.
Gil.
She raises both arms. 2 large tornadoes appear and trample over the abysses that can only crawl on the ground. I continue to knock away abysses that come diving from above with my wings and arms. This is going well, we've got plenty of leeway. I was overthinking this. The abysses crawling on the ground don't have any attack that can reach us up here. It's a one-sided hunting ground for Arrow. 4 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 44 experience points have been acquired. Finally, strength fades from one of the abysses and I receive an experience points notification. From then on, the abysses collapse one after the other from their accumulated damage, and message windows repeatedly appears and disappears in my brain. The abyss larvae that were crawling inside the dragon god burst into body fluids as a result of Arrow's gale, converting them into experience points. Perhaps realizing that they can't win, the abysses rapidly retreat to the holes in the wall. I can't go in those after all. Numerically, I reckon there's a lot more of them hiding in those nesting holes. Until the overflowing abyss population is thinned out, the Lithivars and I won't be able to have peace. Should I try destroying the wall? Or could I stick something long in there, or lure them out with some bait? For now, I want to show my respects and bury the former dragon god Sama. The mysterious fat yellow thread is wrapped around its bones, and the corpses of the abyss larvae are inside it. As it is now, it's a bit too pitiful. At that time Arrow pokes my back. Turning around, I see her flapping her arms. See, could this be? Name Arrow. Species Reviana Mage. Condition Cursed, Magic Correction Major. LV 30 Max. HP 116/116. MEP 98/132. Oh. You. Finally, her level has reached the maximum. 285 Arrow, 3rd evolution. I land in front of the dragon god. I trample on a number of abyss corpses, but don't pay them any attention for now. When I first saw one, just getting closer to it felt like insanity, so it really is scary how much I've gotten used to them. Arrow jumps down from my back while being careful about the ground. I glance at the large number of holes in the walls. They vary in size, but most of them are just barely big enough for an abyss to squeeze in. Even a human wouldn't be able to enter without crouching down. Perhaps because of the heavy abysses, a few of the holes are slightly larger. If I used humanization technique, I could just about enter those. Though it'd be too small to properly fight, and besides, there wouldn't be any light. Restless, Arrow is unable to settle down. I wonder if she intends to return to the village after this? Thinking that, I feel a bit gloomy. Shouldn't I let her evolve? Please do the same as usual, partner. I reply to my partner with my true feelings and she nods back before facing Arrow.
Gah!
She cries out and Arrow is enveloped in a black light. It's the soul appendment fake life a skill. I hear a sizzling sound coming from inside the black light as though something is burning. Worried by the sound, I take a step forward. The black light surges outwards and I reflexively close my eyes. When I open my eyes, the light has dispersed, becoming thin. A pale white arm stretches out from inside. It's not made of earth. At least, I don't get that impression from its appearance. There's no sense blood inside it, but it's a smooth young girl's arm. Before long, the black light completely clears away. Feeling as though they're boiling with overflowing magic power, wide-open crimson eyes stare back at me. Her skin and hair quality, as well as her eye color have changed, but the shape of her face, her height, and the length of her hair are a perfect match for the Arrow I know. A lot of her features remain from her previous evolution. She's unmistakably Arrow. Noticing my surprise, she blinks, then nervously looks at her arm. The moment she touches the skin of her arm, her body trembles and she collapses on the spot. She hugs her body, so happy she looks as though on the verge of tears. We're finally here. With her pallid white skin and her crimson eyes that are slightly larger than normal, she's a little bit diverged from a normal human appearance, but this is a massive improvement from her undead appearance up to now. For the time being, let's check her species information. Reviana Lolich, C+ rank monster. Freely wielding earth, it creates a temporary body. Harboring a strong attachment to the living, it often lures in foolish humans. Before they know it, those humans find themselves in the midst of the Reviana Lolich's insane feast. C+, is it? Her rank's gone up a fair bit. Based her species name, next in line is a Reviana Lich? It somehow sounds a little ominous, but it's fine, right? Arrow is still Arrow, right? Name Arrow. Species Reviana Lich. Condition Cursed. LV 165th. HP 138/138. MEPE 38,154. Attack 88. Defense 76. Magic 151. Speed 65. Rank C+. Characteristic skills. Grisha language, LV4 undead, LV-dark attribute, LV-flesh transformation, LV5 privilege of the deceased, LV-ruler of earth, LV-evil demon eye, LV1. Resistance skills. Status condition nullification, LV-physical resistance, LV3 magic resistance, LV4. Normal skills. Gale, LV6 Poor Curse, LV4 Life Drain, LV3 Clay, LV6 Self-Regeneration, LV3 Clay Doll, LV5 Mana Drain, LV5 Rope of Regret, LV1 Fog of the Dead, LV1. Title skills. Servant of the Evil Dragon, LV-Hollow Sorcerer, LV6 Undecaying Body, LV-. L level 1 is just this much. She isn't very strong? Is C+ only this much? Once her levels raised a bit, she should able to chip away at the Abyss population even without me. Whether or not she's able to make good use of Mana Drain is the key though. While I'm at my wit's end looking at her status, Arrow gets to her feet. She stares into my eyes. I wonder what she's doing, but then I realize she's checking her reflection in my eyes. Upon seeing her reflection, her expression brightens and she hugs my chin. That tickles. When I raise my head on reflex, she stretches out her arms towards me, a pout on her face. I touch my chin with my foreleg and remember the feel of her touch. It felt like completely normal, supple human skin. I didn't feel any body heat, but her skin is unmistakably human in quality. It doesn't feel at all like it's made from earth. Arrow suddenly looks at the dragon god's corpse opposite me. It's covered in those fat yellow threads, as well as dead abyss larvae and body fluids. Now that I look at it more closely, this soft and flabby stuff looks a bit like a foam nest. Like one of those translucent things that some fish or frogs make to protect their eggs. Since the larvae were nearby, this yellow soft stuff probably had eggs in it. It might also serve as food for them while they grow up. though I don't want to think about too much. When I turn to face the dragon god's corpse, Arrow moves in front of it. After observing the corpse, she looks back up at me. I was sure she was about to start being suspicious of me, but it doesn't look like that's the case.
Poor thing.
Arrow lets out a mutter. Having seen it be trampled over by abysses, I agree with a nod. Taking a big breath, I accumulate magic power in the back of my throat before releasing a scorching breath towards the dragon god's skeleton. The raging flames wrap around the bones, burning the soft thread and abyss corpses to nothing. The thunderous sound continues until soon even the dirt that can't be identified as earth or dead flesh is burnt away. All that remains is a clean skeleton with a few scorch marks. Arrow approaches the clean dragon god's corpse and softly strokes its head. Thank you for all you've done, Dragon God-sama. Please rest in peace. She speaks smoothly, the rattle in her voice gone. She must have guessed it's the old Dragon God-sama from seeing its two heads. I watch over her in silence. It's not like I'm jealous.
Dragon God-sama?
Saying that in a way that leaves a question mark, Arrow looks at me. For some reason, I'm close to withdrawing from awkwardness. Though it's not like her eyes are showing any distrust or hostility towards me. From the start, it's possible a majority of the Lithivars are able to guess that the dragon god changes between generations. It's a bit late for it now, but I don't get the feeling that the dragon god's Miko, Hibi, was trying to press me with questions very much. Though some doubts remain, and there were a few times she looked at me with suspicion in her eyes. I turn my face away in awkwardness, and it's at that time. All of a sudden, there's unpleasant noise. Gwa! The moment I cry out, abysses spill out of their nesting holes. I swivel my head around to check my surroundings, and a moment later, a large number of abysses squeeze out of one of the holes in a jumbled mess. A few of them are overturned, wriggling with their bellies in the air. What is it? What's happening? From where the abysses are being pushed out, a mysterious bluish-black tentacle stretches out and flicks Arrow's body. It happens in an instant. Its speed is tremendous. My attention was diverted, but even if it wasn't, I wouldn't have been able to react in time. I hurriedly kick off the ground and leap after Arrow, catching her with my tail before she can slam against the wall. She'd be crushed by the impact if I stopped her as is, so I swing my tail in a circle to kill her momentum.
Oh.
Arrow moans. The clothes on her side where she received the blow is torn, and a large chunk of her flesh is gouged out. There's no blood, but the splatters of her pale flesh are grotesque. It wasn't even a direct hit, yet it had enough force behind it to kill her. I might not have much leeway in this fight. A mysterious tentacle slithers out of a nesting hole. It's much bigger than an abyss.
What exactly is hiding in this nesting hole?
Yeah. An explosive shrill scream resounds. At the same time, the wall that the tentacles are emerging from starts breaking down. 286 Mother Abyss. The wall crumbles, exploding into a cloud of dust. Beyond the dust, there is something emitting an overwhelming presence. Its figure is obscured, from the shadow it projects onto the cloud of dust. It's a bit bigger than me. A bizarrely long, bluish-black tentacle protrudes from the cloud of dust. There's no doubt this is the Abyss's boss. If I defeat it, their strange population surge should settle down. Abysses are swarming around the ground, so below is dangerous. Making that judgment, I extend my tail towards Arrow. She jumps on board, then transfers to my back. Its high-pitched scream once again echoes throughout the area. The scream clears away the dust instantly. What appears is a bluish-black, longer than normal, gigantic abyss. Its eyes shine as it glares at me. In addition to the usual eyes, it's got extra eyes on the sides of its head. A mixture of long and short tentacles sprout from around its head, waving in the air. What's so repulsive about it is the huge number of abyss larvae crowded onto its back. Squirming, the larvae are wrapped with that soft yellow stuff from earlier. Each of them are wriggling, almost as though they are eating through back of the giant abyss in order to make a place for themselves. I had thought that its back was dented, but it looks like that's the result of the larvae eating it away. To be honest, just looking at it is dampening my will to fight. My partner's also lost for words, staring in mute amazement. I am grateful from the depths of my heart that I haven't met that thing up till now, and am filled with despair for meeting it now. This thing's seriously no good. Species, Mother. Condition, Enraged, Major. LV, 81/85. HP, 722/722. MEPE, 285-325. Attack, 555. Defense, 647. Magic, 364. Speed, 481. Rank, B+. Characteristic skills. Many-legged, LV- Mitsu, LV Max Dark Attribute, LV- Automatic HP Recovery, LV7 Presence Perception, LV4 Tentacle, LV8 Carapace, LV8 Great Reproduction, LV8 Food Regeneration, LV7 Resistance Skills. Physical Resistance, LV7 Magic Resistance, LV6 Fall Resistance, LV Max Poison Resistance, LV9 Paralysis Resistance, LV5 Confusion Resistance, LV5 Normal Skills. Hole Digging, LV8 Paralysis Bite, LV8 Acidic Saliva, LV7 Plague Breath, LV8 Clay Wall, LV6 Tentacle Whip, LV6 Gravity, LV7 Gravidon, LV8 Physical Barrier, LV5 Title Skills. Mutation, LV- Mother Abyss, LV- Cannibalism, LV8 Many Children, LV Max Final Evolution, LV- Calamity, LV8 UG. I might have been taking this a little lightly. It's not to the same extent as me, but its stats are stupidly high. This thing is really dangerous. This monster was hiding at the bottom? I can see in an instant why the abysses were multiplying out of control. This thing has been endlessly producing them under the ground. It might be easier for the Lithivars to just move away. Mother, B+ rank monster. A form reached by an abyss that has lived for several hundred years, a queen of the abyss. It incubates a portion of the eggs it lays inside itself, which go on to parasitise its back and eat away at its flesh. The abysses raised this way become elites which protect the mother. As an aside, each time its mate dies following mating, it becomes nutrition for the mother. Oh. Indeed, arranged around the mother, I see a number of bluish-black heavy abysses. Species, Mother Guard. Condition, Enraged, Major, Defense Correction. LV, 43/65. HP, for 58/58. MEPE, 143/143. They're not heavies, they're custom-made bodyguards. Their levels are stupidly high. What are these guys, seriously? A whole load of 400 HPs are gathered together and shuffling around. As a plus, there's that defense correction. Is that the mother's a physical barrier? With this many here, there's no end in sight. The mother moves to beside the dragon god's skeleton, bends its legs, and sits down. The mother guards crowd onto the skeleton, causing it to sink into the ground slightly. Shaking my tail and forelegs to flick away the abysses that came charging, I jump into the air. I'll hit it with wind slashes from above. It's certainly tougher than any enemy I've fought so far, but if I hit it with too many shots from the front for it to recover, it should run out of strength. I have attack, 837 after all. It might be high level, but I'm a higher rank. I fire 2 blades of wind. The moment I do, one of the mother guards that was on the dragon god's skeleton leaps up to accept the blades. Its body is cleaved open, scattering body fluids. But its posture doesn't break and it lands on its legs without falling over. It's got serious guts. The injured mother guard falls back and is replaced by another. Wind magic, Gale. Arrow fires a tornado. The tornado gouges through the ground as it approaches the mother, but a mother guard intercepts, snuffing it out. It doesn't look like it took much damage. Arrow only just evolved after all. Even using my magic power, she doesn't have the levels to fight a level 40 mother guard. It would have been better if she'd had a chance to hunt some abysses first. One of the mother's head tentacles bends towards me at high speed. It seems they can be expanded and contracted at will, because even though I thought I was out of range, it easily whips closer. It doesn't look like flying will be much of an advantage. I roll to the side to dodge before twisting to bite it. As I chomp down, the mother's body fluids soak my mouth. It's lukewarm, with a peculiar bitterness and foul smell, and more than anything, its flavor is. No, if I pay attention to it, it's my loss. I need to clear my heart. I can throw up to my heart's content once this is over, but I need to bear it for now. I change my trajectory upwards to try and pull the mother away from its guards. Its body floats slightly, but a moment later more tentacles sprout and pull it back to the ground with a thud. I roll desperately to dodge another tentacle whip, then use that acceleration to dash towards the mother's head. The tentacle slips from my mouth from the sudden movement, but the guards are unable to keep up and I land a direct hit on the mother's forehead. A repulsive scream echoes throughout the chasm as its carapace dents and body fluids leak out. Great, I was somehow able to damage it. It might have a numbers advantage, but in a direct fight I won't lose. With this, I should try and score hits while thinking of ways to disrupt the guard's formation. It might be forcing my way into a close quarters fight, but the mother guard's statuses are outstanding, so. With the abysses sticking to it, it'd be fairly hard. I want to chip away at the mother guards from a distance where their attacks won't reach. If I try attacking, they'll obstruct me, and if I land, they'll surround and bite at me from every angle. Feeling a strange sensation, I glance at my back. Arrow has 2 new arms sprouting from her back, extending from gaps in her clothes to cling to my body. They're smaller than the arm she made before and a lot more human-like, so it's kind of scary. Meeting my eyes, she hurriedly releases her grip in her extra arms. And no, if you let go, you'll fall. 287 Abyss Hell. Keeping my distance from the mother, I lower my altitude. For now, it's necessary for Arrow to raise her level. I considered going up and having her take refuge with the others, but Arrow is the only one who can enter a battlefield that contains a high B rank monster. It would be difficult for me to pull the guards away while also inflicting a fatal wound by myself. I want to defeat it here. The guards arranged in a tight formation. But it's not like it's impossible to break through. As I skim the ground, Arrow fires off repeated gales at the normal abysses. Seeing her struggle to kill them, I help out with Wind Slash and my partner helps with Death. In no time at all, almost 10 abysses are transformed into corpses. Experience acquisition windows pop up in my head one after the other. 138 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 138 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 79 to 80. Great, we're doing good. The mother clearly doesn't want to break its formation, because even though it has the enraged status condition, it's not taking active movement. Some tentacles come after me, but I'm able to cut them off with Wind Slash, keeping them at bay.
Gale.
The tornado plows through a crowd of abysses, sending them flying. Intent on finishing them off midair, I suck in my breath, but I notice a change in the mother. Its 4 eyes shine with a red light. The mother's scream reverberates. At the same time, a cone of black light stretches out from its center. The ground engulfed by the light dents as though something heavy is on it, cracks tearing open. I've seen this once before, so I know what skill it is at a glance. Its scale is way bigger, but it's the gravity of skill. Ages ago, I was on the receiving end of it from the twin head. The nearby abysses sink into the ground and stop moving. A moment later, I'm also in the area of effect too. Wrapped in black light, my body suddenly becomes heavy. I try to resist, but I can't lift my wings. My altitude drops, and a moment later my feet are on the ground. Aside from the baby abysses on the mother's back, it looks like all of them are affected by gravity, as even though their legs struggle, they're unable to move. With the enemy unable to move, it's not a particularly scary situation. I'm just about able to move by crawling across the ground.
Clay.
Arrow uses magic while lying on my back. The terrain deforms as needles of earth burst from the ground, impaling the abdomens of nearby immobilized abysses, scattering their body fluids. 120 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 120 experience points have been acquired.
Okay, this is going well.
So, what I have to pay attention to is VAH. A tentacle shoots towards me. Fighting gravity, I raise both wings in front. With a crashing sound, the tentacle hits my wing. A sharp pain runs through my body. The moment the tentacle is repelled, the black light disappears and my body becomes lighter all of a sudden. I whip backwards slightly from the sudden lack of resistance.
Oh.
But I can recover from this much right away. Via. Released from gravity at the same time, the abysses leap towards me together. They bite at my legs and scramble up my body. I kick off the ground and spread my wings, which are also being bitten at by several abysses. My body grows more and more numb as the abysses pump their body fluids into me. Isn't this pretty dangerous? There's 4 of them on my leg, 3 that have climbed onto my body, and 2 that are clinging to each of my wings. I'm too weighed down to fly properly.
Gah.
My partner drops one of the ones them on my wing with Death. 186 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 186 experience points have been acquired. But as she does, more of them jump towards my body. At this rate, there's no end to them. Up until now I've been fighting them from outside their reach, but since being forced to the ground, their numbers are a problem.
Gooh.
Roaring, I swing my tail upwards, using its momentum to complete a roll.
Kaya.
Arrow is thrown into the air. I catch her in my mouth, then increase the speed of my rotation as I fall to the ground. After landing, I roll in a straight line before crashing into the wall. The 20 or so abysses that were crawling on me are flattened, along with all the abysses that were in my path. Their death cries overlap, echoing throughout the chasm bottom. 2760 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 2760 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 80 to 83. Haha. I was somehow able to pull through.
That's what they get.
My body is drenched in their body fluids, and I get the feeling that a few of their corpses are stuck to my back, but I don't know anything about them. I'll forget about them. Roll really is my strongest and most amazing skill. I pull my head out of the hole in the wall. The abysses that are timidly observing me from a distance suddenly all flee in unison. Vieheya. The power of my roll from earlier must have scared them quite a bit. See, could I maybe force my way through the guards with a roll? I twist to change my direction, then rush towards the mother with a roll. The abysses that I run over en route are converted to experience points. Vah. With the mother's scream, the surroundings are wrapped in black light. My body becomes heavy once again, slowing me down. It's using the gravity skill again. Even so, I don't stop, continuing on straight. I feel what must be the mother's tentacles jabbing into my body, but I don't alter my course in the slightest. Vah. Shaken by the power of my roll, the mother screams even louder than before. If you can dodge me, then by all means. If it's forced to move, then it'll lose the protection of the mother guards, albeit temporarily. If it doesn't dodge, then that's also fine. Let's have you receive my roll that has been used to hunt countless monsters with your body. I rush ya. Species Ouroboros. Condition Normal. LV 83/125. HP 2195/2195. MEPE 2212. Attack 877. Defense 516. Magic 967. Speed 630. Rank A. Sacred Skills. Human Realm LV-. Characteristic Skills. Dragon Scales, LV-7 Voice of God, LV-5 Grisha Language, LV-3 Flight, LV-7 Dragon Scale Powder, LV-7 Dark Attribute, LV- Evil Dragon, LV- Automatic HP Recovery, LV-8 Presence Perception, LV-5 Automatic MP Recovery, LV-6 Double-Headed, LV- Split Spirit, LV- Mutual Understanding, LV-3. Resistance Skills. Physical Resistance, LV-5 Fall Resistance, LV-6 Starvation Resistance, LV-5 Poison Resistance, LV-6 Loneliness Resistance, LV-6 Magic Resistance, LV-4 Dark Attribute Resistance, LV-4 Fire Attribute Resistance, LV-3 Fear Resistance, LV-3 Oxygen Deprivation Resistance, LV-4 Paralysis Resistance, LV-6 Illusion Resistance, LV-3 Instant Death Resistance, LV-2 Curse Resistance, LV-2 Confusion Resistance, LV-2 Strong Light Resistance, LV-1 Normal Skills. Roll, LV-7 Status Inspection, LV-7 Scorching Breath, LV-5 Whistle, LV-2 Dragon Punch, LV-3 Plague Breath, LV-6 Poison Fang, LV-7 Paralyzing Poison Claw, LV-6 Dragon Tail, LV-2 Roar, LV-3 Heaven's Drop, LV-3 Return to Ground, LV-1 Humanization Technique, LV-8 Wind Slash, LV-7 Neck Breaker, LV-4 High Rest, LV-6 Self-Regeneration, LV-5 Traveling Companion, LV- Death, LV-4 Soul Appendment Fake Life, LV-4 Title Skills. Son of the Dragon King, LV- Walking Egg, LV- Klutz, LV-4 Simple Fool, LV-1 Infighter, LV-4 Pest Killer, LV-8 Liar, LV-3 Evasion King, LV-2 Path of Evil, LV-8 Calamity, LV-7 Chicken Runner, LV-3 Chef, LV-4 Mean King, LV-9 Gutsy, LV-4 Big Eater Giant Killer, LV-3 Pottery Craftsman, LV4 Group Leader, LV1 Laplace Interference Authority, LV2 One Who Knows Eternity, LV-Ant King, LV-Brave Hero, LV5. And it is rather difficult to work into the main story, so I'm listing it here. Seeing it after so long is amazing, right? 288 Abyss Collapse. V. VE.
Ver.
V. Via. A huge number of abysses, heavy abysses, and mother guards assemble in front of the mother. They pile up on top of each other to soon form a wall of abysses. It seems they intend to protect the mother no matter what it takes. The sight of so many abysses crawling over each other is, needless to say, traumatizing, but I force my emotions away and push on. I'm going to end the battle as soon as possible. In my head, that's all I can think. As if I'd waver in the face of a wall of abysses after all this time. Finally, I slam into the wall. I trample through and feel them squished beneath me. 144 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 144 experience points have been acquired. 156 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 156 experience points have been acquired. I hear unpleasant sounds and feel unpleasant sensations. In this way, about 10 message windows appear and disappear one after the other. 138 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 138 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 83 to 84. It's strange. My level's rising quickly, but for some reason I'm not pleased at all. But the wall of abysses has more mass than I expected, and my rotational speed slows as I roll up the wall, soon coming to a stop. This is the worst. I couldn't have stopped in a worse place. Suddenly, abysses cling all over my body. VAAH. The mother roars. A point-blank tentacle whip penetrates the wall of abysses and slams into my chest. It's a direct hit. My scales are gouged and blood flies. Succumbing to the impact, my body floats in the air. I spread my wings, flinging away abysses and holding myself in the air, while twisting to bite at the mother's tentacle. It seems like I was blown away by the tentacle whip, but now the tentacle is stretched out like a kite's string and I'm able to escape far away. As I pull on the tentacle, the mother's huge body trembles. Since I've closed the distance this much, I want to deal a ton of damage in one go. Shouldn't we fly further away to put some distance? No, let's do it from here. A good few of the mother guards mobilized to make that wall of flesh. They were swallowed by the collapsing wall and can't move. Before they can reorganize, I want to strike the mother. By strike, you mean? Please use Soul Appendment Fake Life to startle them. It's not a skill I want to get used to using, but in this situation, I can't afford preferences. To revive an abyss? I don't think that'll have much effect though. No, what I want you to move is the Dragon God skeleton near the mother.
Ga?
A good number of mother guards have taken position on top of it, after all. Anyway, do it now please. We can't afford to miss this opportunity. She nods and uses Soul Appendment Fake Life. Wrapped in black light, the Dragon God skeleton abruptly rises to its feet opposite the mother. The Dragon God skeleton points its eye cavities towards the mother. The abysses and mother guards on top of it slide down in confusion. Some of the abysses scatter in every direction. The elite mother guards scramble to jump at the skeleton. Of course, the only just awoken Dragon God only level 1, so it's no match for the mother guards. It crumbles apart in the blink of an eye, once again collapsing into sleep. Sorry for waking you up. But even though it was just a momentary distraction, the protection around the mother has grown thin. I stretch out my neck and open my mouth wide. As though seeking the light, arrow crawls along my tongue. Though she falters for a second upon seeing the disastrous scene in front of her, she fires off the most powerful magic she can. Ugu. EA Earth Magic, Clay. Countless needles erupt from the ground. Though they don't pierce the mother, the footing of the battlefield is made unstable. The mother guards that remained in front lose their stances and are flipped over. Assault by roll, panic from the Dragon God's revival, and arrows of clay. Between these three attacks, I've finally created a huge opening in the mother's protection. I can't let this chance slip. Pulling on the mother's tentacle, I use it to launch myself towards it. The tentacle tears off and the mother flinches back. I put all my weight behind my foreleg, digging into the mother's forehead with my claws. VAA. Crushed, its head splits open, scattering body fluids. Sensing a crisis, the larvae that were parasiticing its back squirm along its body towards me.
Giggles. Can they fight too?
As I'm thinking that, the surrounding mother guards regain their footing. Arrow jumps down from my mouth, standing on top of the mother.
Wind magic, Gale.
The swarm of larvae are blown away by her wind magic and fall to the ground. Nice, Arrow. With this, I can devote myself to finishing off the mother. With the departure of the larvae, the mother's back is gross and pitted, but I look away and pretend I didn't see. I hold down the mother with both forelegs. Partner, let's bite into it together, as deeply as possible.
Are you serious?
If we miss this chance, we'll be soon fighting while covered in abysses again. She closes her eyes, then opens her right eye a crack to peer at the mother. Let's look for another way after all.
Okay, all together now.
She opens her mouth in a hurry. I open my mouth, and we dig our fangs in at almost the exact same time. My mouth fills with bitter liquid. I get the feeling that there's something wriggling inside my mouth. I hope it's an illusion. I want it to just be an illusion. VAR. Dan, Dan, Don, Dan, Don. The mother's tentacle whips slam into my back. Healing through self-regeneration, I kick off the ground and jump up into the air. Though unstable, I manage to fly in the air with it in my mouth. At this rate, Arrow would be dragged in and crushed, so she kicks off to jump down to the ground. Midair, the mother frantically resists as it pounds its forelegs into my head. Blocking its tentacles with my tail, I desperately continue to fly up. After flying about 30 meters up, I use roll in the air to forcefully flip over. My center of gravity is horribly unbalanced, so my rotation is unsteady, but I'm just barely able to raise my rotation speed enough to push through. Matching my timing with my partner, I open my mouth to release the mother, flinging it downwards forcefully. I use the same centrifugal force to chase after its back with my tail. With a tremendous crashing sound, the mother's huge body is propelled to the ground. Normal skill Heaven's Drop has risen from level 3 to 4. Stretching out my wings, I chase after it. I kick off the wall to accelerate, then stomp on it with both of 4 feet just as it hits the ground. With a massive thud, the entirety of the cavern bottom shakes, and huge fissures open up in the ground. Unable to bear the impact, body fluids gush from its mouth. Normal skill Return to Ground has risen from level 1 to 2. Its body convulses with a twitch. As expected, this has decided the battle. The combo of a Heaven's Drop and Return to Ground really is scary. I don't have the tiniest bit of gratitude for that hero, though. The mother cries out feebly, its legs crawling. The abysses all bustle past each other to gather. They've already lost their will to fight upon seeing their boss's defeated figure. At that moment, the mother bares its teeth at an abyss that had crawled close. Panicked, the abyss tries to avoid, but the difference in speed is too great. In the blink of an eye, 3 abysses are reaped by its teeth and eaten. All that remains are their legs and a splashes of body fluids.
How nasty.
That reminds me, it had food regeneration. The ball rabbit had that too. If I remember correctly, it lets you heal by eating. Dragging its crushed body, the mother moves to attack another abyss. I put strength into my forelegs to stop it from moving. Its teeth grind to a halt a few centimeters away another abyss. All at once, the abysses break up and scatter away.
Those guys.
No, it's fine I guess. With this, I've stopped the culprit behind their abnormal multiplication. Unwilling to give up, it stretches out its tattered tentacles towards nearby abysses. I step on the source of the tentacles, its head. The tentacles and legs twitch until finally they stop moving. 3240 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 3,240 experience points have been acquired. The level of Ouroboros has risen from 84 to 87.
Ooh. That's a lot.
Title skill Brave Hero has risen from level 5 to 6. Brave Hero went up? So I should get a new skill in a moment? Normal skill Holy, LV1, was acquired.
It's here.
Isn't this the one that can cancel out curses? As long as I have this, I no longer have to worry about dragon scale powder.
Let's test it out.
Holia.
Huh?
It doesn't look like I can use it?
Gah.
With my partner's cry, a ball of peaceful light appears before gently scattering apart.
Yeah, I see.
Arrow walks up beside me. I ought to check how much her levels increased from this. She's mowed down quite a few of them after all. Though saying that, she might not be participating in a lot of battles from here on. Name Arrow. Species Reviana Lolich. Condition Cursed. LV 2465. HP 116/252. MEP 32,276. SH she went up 23 whole levels. She killed a good number of them when they were gathered together after all. After checking the mother's corpse once again, I shift my eyes to the dragon god's skeleton. Arrow stretches her hand out towards it. Clay. The earth swells up to cover it. Arrow closes her eyes and tilts her head forwards, taking a stance as though offering a prayer for the dead dragon god. Copying her, I bow my head towards the buried dragon god and close my eyes. With this, the cause of the abyss's mass breeding is taken care of. First of all, I want to wash my body. Looking up, I see something small and green peering down over the edge of the cliff. Straining my eyes, I'm able to make out 10 forest children. The forest children point in the direction of the Lithavar village, then disappear as though dissolving into the air. What is it? 289, a certain noble's tyranny too, sighed Tolman. I sit on a tree stump in the middle of camp. A thick cloth has been laid on it, but it is still far inferior in comfort to the chairs of my manor. When compared to my manor's food, much of the food here is also inedible. How long must I endure living like this? I hide a yawn behind my hand. I want to experience the thrill of battle as soon as possible. I want to let the world know of my outstanding military prowess. When I slay the low-born barbarians and return with the mythical beast in hand, I shall be the target of everyone's adoration. When that happens, I shall become king of Ardesia both in name and reality. My arms and legs rock back and forth in impatience. This is no good. Despite being the greatest noble of the kingdom and its next king, it is almost as though I'm acting like a child. Suddenly I notice a change in my private army. Everyone is gathering to talk in low voices as though to discuss a rumor. Expressions of scorn are mixed into the expressions of the speakers. As I am wondering what has occurred, the foremost officer of my starved hunters, Azalea, approaches. Azalea truly is a thoughtful man. The moment he notices a change, he comes directly to inform me. Tolman Kaka, it seems Derek of the 68th unit has returned. I frown and he elaborates. He is part of the unit that bore serious wounds from a monster attack while scouting for the Lithavar settlement. His whereabouts were unknown. Oh, I see. That is excellent. Is that all? Now that I remember, there was talk of an idiot who died after being attacked by monsters while on a scouting mission. So he lived then. Either way, it does not matter much. However, it seems he is saying strange things. He is ranting about having been left behind by the other members of his unit as a decoy. Perhaps he seeks some form of punishment for them. Huh? What foolishness! Leaving behind the small fry as a decoy is a matter of course. Yes, there is no mistake. He cannot be allowed to harm Tolmankaka's temper, so I shall personally dissuade him from taking further action. I have no recollection of anyone by the name Derek, but he is most likely a new recruit. The motto of the starved hunters is the strong may oppress the weak. It is his own fault for being made a decoy. This is also my own motto. The domination of the strong over the weak is a matter of course. That is why, as the world's strongest, I shall become king and rule over all people. This is why. When a mongrel whines in my presence, my sword is liable to slip from my hand. Azalea smiles faintly at my words, but his expression changes upon hearing a shout. I want to speak with Tolman-sama. Where is Tolman-sama? The shouting man certainly is familiar. I do not recognize the spear in his hand, but he is clad in the uniform of the starved hunters. He must be Derek. I cannot apologize enough. I was too slow to act and your eyes have been polluted as a result. I shall punish that mongrel right away. Azalea swiftly draws near to Derek, blocking his approach. Hey Derek, if you have complaints about the members of your unit, then direct it to them yourself. There is no need to bother Tolmankaka with such things. But Derek ignores Azalea and, upon seeing me, stretches out his neck and raises his voice. Tolmankaka, please put a halt to this plan. The Lithavars are not the savage tribe that they are said to be. They saved me after I was wounded by a monster attack. They are certainly not senseless savages. Huh? I raise my voice in spite of myself. Azalea seizes Derek's shoulder. If you intend to continue to show impertinence to Tolman Kaka, I could blow off your useless head now instead?
Come now, wait a moment, Azealia.
Derek, was it?
What an interesting fellow. Bring him to me.
Dragging him by the shoulder, Azealia brings Derek in front of me. Though put off balance from being dragged, once in front of me, he attempts to ward off the hand gripping his shoulder. But Azalea's hand doesn't move in the slightest. A few seconds pass and Azealia slowly releases his grip. After glaring at him, Derek returns his gaze to me. Tolman-sama, as I said before, please put a halt to the Lithivar extermination plan.
Why?
Taken aback by my reply, he frowns.
Because that is...
I was saved by the Lithivars.
And so?
That is why, even though they are called dangerous barbarians, the people living around this forest have the wrong impression. I nod thoughtfully. Derek breathes a sigh of relief.
So?
Is not correct. You have something more to say, right? So hurry and say it.
No.
Derek flusters and I laugh scornfully.
Let's see.
This is hypothetical, of course. Suppose the Lithivars truly are peaceful people who cherish nature and live quietly. Even if that were the case, would it have anything to do with me? Derek's face blanches, his mouth flapping open and closed. Are you truly saying that? What about you, are you truly saying that? This expedition is being undertaken at great expense for the purpose of making me king, you know? Do you mean to suggest that an idiot like yourself could ever understand the trouble I had to go through to get permission to dispatch troops? If the subjugation of the Lithivar tribe were suspended now, the potential fame I could have claimed would disappear before my eyes, the cost of the expedition would be brought to nothing, and I would be laughed by those who would say I suspended the subjugation out of fear of a tribe of barbarians. Truly, this is why unthinking idiots are problematic. I hate fools that are slow to understand. Most of all, I hate the fools who waste my time. In the first place, as we shall be laying waste to the forest in search of the mythical beast known as the carbuncle, conflict with the Lithivars is inevitable. Regardless of their disposition, it is no matter to me. I swing my sheathed sword, striking the ground next to him. Good grief, you make me sick. This is why idiots with poor births and poor heads are troublesome. Azealia, remove this idiot from my sight. As Azealia moves to grip Derek's shoulder, Derek steps back to avoid him. I had heard of your violent disposition, but I didn't think it'd be this bad. Savage this, savage that. The savage here is you, Tolman. I shall follow you no more. I leave your awful private army today. Derek strips the jacket of his uniform and throws it on the ground before me. He moves to leave, spear tightly gripped in his hand. The noble myself is a violent savage? I find myself close to losing my reason in anger, but then remember that it is no more than the drivel of an uneducated, low-born mutt. I regain my calm a moment later. Derek is moving towards the depths of the forest. Is he really going to their village to warn them? Truly, this man's idiocy knows no bounds. Derek, you bastard, do you understand what it is you're trying to do?
What of it?
How about you reconsider what you're doing yourself? It seems you don't understand. With one order of mine, I can have the heads of all the members of your family that live my domain.
Hey.
Derek is at a loss for words. But I am merciful. Even though you are trying to betray me by turning to the barbarians, I shall give you an option. If you swear to leave straight out of this forest, I shall not interfere. If you return to your family and leave my territory with them before I return, I shall not give chase. But, by any chance, you do not do that. Derek stands dumbfounded, then looks back at the forest depths. Then, he lets go of the spear. Turning in the opposite direction, he breaks into a run. I scowl at his back for a moment, then look away and yawn. I have no intention of going out of my way to capture him. After all, I promised to do nothing if he returned straight to my territory and took his family away. Hey, Azealia. Azealia lets out a short reply, then raises a hand towards Derek's back. Fire magic, flare. The surroundings are bathed in a red light. Amid the dazzling light, a single line flashes out. Tracing from Azalea's outstretched hand, it hits Derek's back. Letting out a scream, he collapses ungainly on the spot. His charred knees fall to the ground and black embers dance as through the air. In his back there is a gaping hole in his back. How cruel, Azealia. I say, smirking. Azealia kneels on the ground. I cannot apologize enough. I could not bear his repeated insolence towards Tolmankaka, and my hand moved on its own. This Azalea shall accept any punishment you give me. Of course, he cast the magic after I called him by name and he understood my intention. I said I would do nothing. But if my follower were to act rashly. This is why having followers that are too loyal is troublesome. Tolmankaka, you said that if he did not return and leave with his family, they would be executed.
What should be done?
Isn't that decided? As a man with a strong sense of duty, I keep my promises. Unlike that charcoal scum who defied his master, that is. I jest and the surroundings erupt in laughter. Then an 8-man group appears. In the lead is the officer of the Starved Hunters 20th Unit, Grodel. Beneath his red hair, he bears a large wound from his forehead to his eyes. Tolman-sama, the magic circle has been completed. The effect should be felt soon.
Ooh, Grodel, you've done well.
With this, the preparations for my plan are all complete. I can attack at any time. However, we were seen and so had to silence 3 people. Their bodies may already be found, so they might be on high alert. Well, it can't be helped. I don't like the idea of moving the battle preparations too far forward. I wanted to wait to see the effects, but tomorrow morning, before the sun has risen, let us begin the assault. My beloved sword aches to kill the barbarians as soon as possible, after all.
Ora.
As expected of Tolman-sama.
Let's kill them at once.
Fufu, I shall be able to cut down humans for the first time in a long while. I should assemble those who are on standby and adjust the plan. 290 Village Crisis. I spread my wings to leave the Abyss Nest and meet up with the Petit Nightmare, Arini, and Lesser Trant that are waiting for me at the top.
Kiki.
Ga.
The Petit Nightmare tries to get on my partner's head, but she resists. Though I don't care about them, what's more important is. I turn to look in the direction the forest children pointed, towards the village. I spot them on a nearby tree root. Our eyes meet, then they disappear once again. They really are trying to lead me somewhere, I think. Following along might be for the best. I don't know what their relation is to the Lithivars. Although they might be hostile, since God's voice said they live by absorbing the magic power of trees and are called the guardians of the forest. I guess I'll check next time I see Hibby. There's that, and there's one more thing I need to ask. I need to ask about the standing of the dragon god. I really don't want to since I know it'll get a bit awkward, but it's not as though I can let that stop me and stay silent. I have no idea what she'll say though. Arrow stares anxiously in the direction the forest children disappeared, towards the village. That reminds me, Hibby's the only one I can question about the dragon god, but Arrow should know about the forest children. She doesn't have any difficulty in talking anymore, so I'll try asking her.
Guo.
I cry in a low voice, and Arrow turns to look at me. For the feared gods to show themselves with a purpose is exceedingly rare. Ooh, there's a slight lisp, but she's speaking normally. I once again feel amazed at how far she's come. Wait, feared gods? I frown, and Arrow tilts her head to the side. It seems the forest children are called feared gods here. Those little guys? Feared gods? Not fearless gods, then?
What did they do?
A long time ago, an ancestor roused their anger and caused a huge landslide, is what Miko-sama said. Seeing my confusion, Arrow explains. Was that really those guys doing? Couldn't that Hibby-san be exaggerating a bit? I have doubts about the dragon god too, so I have some resistance to just accepting this without question. But if they really can do that sort of thing, I ought to be careful not to anger them. I get the feeling they've been observing me suspiciously up to now. You using fake life would be bad, right? In any case, if I'm going to follow their guidance, then let's get going. They won't get angry with me for going where they say. I'm worried something's happening in the village too. It's possible that, after I defeated their boss, the abysses fell into chaos and surged into the village. If that's what's happening, I won't be able to look them in the eyes. I drop Arrow and the others off at the shrine on the way, then continue onto the village by myself. I thought she might want to go to the village too, but after thinking for a bit, she shook her head slightly. She might not have found her resolve just yet. Until she says she wants to go, I'll just watch over her quietly. As I get closer to the Lithivar village, I notice things are off. It's strangely quiet. I don't see a single person around. It doesn't look at all like the aftermath of a battle with abysses. Even when I look around, there's nowhere near enough traces of blood.
Ga?
As though thinking it strange, my partner tilts her head. Using presence perception, I'm able to confirm that there are people further inside. For some reason, they're stock still.
Guo-h. I raise my voice.
Normally, Hibby should come flying out with this. I'll have her explain what's happening. I don't like rudely calling out to her like this, but there's something's wrong with the village. A short moment later, 2 spear-wielding Lithivars run up to me. They might have been guarding nearby.
What should we do? Dragon God Sama has come.
But...
Ashu?
I'm not all that welcome?
Are they simply in shock?
Seriously, what's going on? Other Lithivars start coming out of their houses and appearing in front of me, but there's really something strange with them. I notice one person walking while supported on the shoulder of another, and then I see more of them that seem to be in a poor state of health. What's more is that their expressions are all dark, as though exhausted. And normally they'd be in high spirits after seeing me. One person. My attention shifts to one man in the middle in particularly bad condition. Sweat drips from his forehead as he leans against the wall. The people around him are fretting and tell him to come down.
Roji Rogum.
Species Lithivar. Condition, poisoned, paralyzed. LV 2765. HP 26/155.
MEPE 132.
P poison and paralysis? Could the anti-dragon god guys have done something? They poisoned my partner with paralysis poison before. I thought things would go better after I defeated the manticore, but I guess that was naive. No, it's not like it's certain that that's what's happening. Anyway, I can't leave this be. High rest can. But it's not like it's 1 or 2 people. My MP. Well, I shouldn't run out. It might be worth having them gather all those that are in danger into one place. To do that, I first need to get Hibby.
Is there anyone who can hear Dragon God Sama's voice?
If we do not borrow Dragon God Sama's wisdom, it will be terrible. Besides, at this rate, we may be abandoned. A single old woman screams hysterically at the people around her. Is Hibby perhaps not around? I'll try looking around in the equipment storage.
That won't do.
Only women of the Miko family can enter there. Do you want to rouse the anger of the feared gods? But since Hibby-sama has died.
Hibby has died?
291 Poison Root.
Hibby has died.
I thought I must have misheard, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. From what they're saying, she noticed some suspicious presences outside and went to go look with her attendants, then was killed. The inside of my head goes pure white. I stand in mute shock at the edge of the village, listening to what they are saying.
Hey?
Partner.
That is...
Anyway, wouldn't it be better to heal these guys? Yeah, that's right. There's people on the verge of death. I don't know what the situation is, but that comes first. Having lost their intermediary with the dragon god Hibby, they have to be pretty anxious. To calm their nerves, I want to start healing right away. Is that okay, partner?
Sure.
I move close to the particularly ill-looking man whose status I looked at before, Roji. His eyes are closed and his breathing is rough. The hand he rests on the wall is clenched in agony. Beside him, a woman he must know is flustered. Noticing my approach, Roji opens his eyes and sheds tears. F for Dr. Dragon God Sama to worry about a person like me. Roji says as though satisfied, the strength fading from his hand. His body slips and his face hits the wall. Then his knees buckle weakly as he collapses to the ground. The woman beside him screams and holds his upper body. The other Lithivars also clamor in worry and rush over.
That's why I told you to rest.
His family were meant to stop him.
It couldn't be helped.
When Roji heard that Dragon God Sama had come, I signal her with my eyes and my partner nods slightly in return.
Ga.
She uses a high rest. Roji is wrapped in gentle light, his complexion quickly improving. The Lithivars watch over him with bated breaths, but when he cracks open his eyes, they cry out, "Ooh, in joy."
I'm alive?
With eyes round, he gets up. I thought it was completely hopeless.
Amazing, that's Dragon God Sama's healing magic for you.
The Lithivars rouse. The gloomy atmosphere has been dispelled a bit. Thanks, partner. If I'd stayed absent-minded, it might have been too late. Anyway, we need to quickly heal the rest of them. Nevertheless, it's surprising to see you take action for humans when you're usually so indifferent about them. Is something maybe changing inside you as chances to interact with the villagers increase? It was strange for you to be shocked that much is why. Ah? Thanks for worrying about me. Looking at his status, the poisoned and paralyzed have become poisoned, minor, and paralyzed. Checking again after another use of high rest, they change to poisoned, minor, and paralyzed, minor. With one more use, the status conditions have completely disappeared. It looks like paralysis and poison can be reduced through high rest, more or less. Since arrest line of skills work by giving the target life force to stimulate their natural healing capacity, that might have gone without saying. It's a great discovery, but having to heal them beyond their maximum HP is bad for efficiency. Especially since I have no idea how many I need to treat. I want to hear what they have to say, but I'm not sure whether or not I should use humanization technique. Probably, if I became a human, the village would panic. With time, I'm sure they'd understand, but with MP being so important now, I don't want to waste it on humanization technique if I can help it. About Hibby and these status conditions. There's lots of things I'm curious about, but what's most important is ensuring there are no more deaths. I go around the village while my partner heals people with high rest. Putting off the curing of the status condition, she's using the minimum amount of MP for high rest, prioritizing the relief of their symptoms. In total, this village has around 300 people. It seems over half of them are suffering from these strange conditions. Looking at the statuses of the remaining half, I can see that they also have the conditions and their HP is being chipped away. They'll soon need high rest too. What's worse is that the people whose symptoms I alleviate are soon suffering again. My MP is meant to be bottomless, but with this much, the bottom is visible. Why is this happening? As I'm going around healing people, high rest increases from level 6 to 7, then brave hero also increases from level 6 to 7. Listening to their conversations, I learned some new things. Hibby and her attendants' corpses bore sword wounds and also had traces of having been moved. It's clearly the work of an outsider. No one in the Lithovar village uses a sword. Everyone here uses spears by choice. There's also talk about whether or not Derek, who came by the village recently, is suspicious. He didn't seem like a bad guy, but it's unthinkable that he was coincidentally loitering around in the area now that this has happened. A sudden visit from an outsider, the murder of the dragon gods Miko, Hibby, a mysterious poison. It's probably correct to assume they're all related. What's more, is that the Lithivars have absolutely no idea what the poison causing their symptoms is. Almost at the exact same time as they found Hibby's body, the villagers started feeling ill. The onset was fastest in those with weak bodies, but other than that they had no points in common, as it was not as though they had all gone to somewhere strange or eaten anything weird. I can only think it's affecting them indiscriminately. Where could it possibly be? Suddenly I remember that Hibby's body had apparently been dragged. Doesn't that mean the guys that killed her didn't want the location she was killed to be found? She noticed a strange presence near the village, went towards it, and was killed. Maybe it was the ones who came to prepare the poison. If they don't want the place they killed her to be found, then that must mean that it's the place where they prepared the poison. But for a poison set up outside the village to make its way in so smoothly is strange. There must be some sort of vector. For people to have eaten the exact same food would be rare. What the villagers must have all ingested in common. Could it be the water? The moment I think that, I use a status inspection on a nearby water barrel. Cursed water barrel, value F-. A barrel filled with cursed water. Those who drink the water inside will be inflicted with various status conditions. They did it to the river. Probably, Hibby was killed on the riverside. The target is probably the entire Lithovar tribe. Adolpha said to me that they're feared as a tribe of demons. It also looks like they were capturing passers-by and sacrificing them to the manticore. It wouldn't be strange for them to have incurred someone's enmity. But what they did was necessary to save their own lives from the manticore. Quite a few sacrifices would have come from the village too. Plus, with the manticore gone, the Lithivars want to treat travelers kindly. That much was clear from Hibby's attitude towards Derek. Once people come into contact with them, they'll soon realize that they're the same flesh and blood humans as themselves. Probably, there are those who hate the Lithivars without ever having seen their faces. They killed Hibby, who came to them without a will to fight, then strewed a curse into the river to weaken the whole village. Their methods are all too cold-blooded. Probably, the ringleader had someone they knew abducted by the Lithivars. They must have thought it unforgivable and sought revenge. I can't say that I completely don't understand their feelings. But even so, I'm sorry, but I can't contain my anger. With restless feelings I clench my teeth. 292 Water Barrels. As I stare at the water barrel, the holy skill springs to mind. From what the hero said, he was going to use holy to avoid the Musca's Demolica's curse. It might be able to cleanse the curse that has been cast on the water, which is giving everyone status conditions.
God's voice, just to be sure, show me its details.
Normal skill holy? A magic skill that is attained by high-ranking clergy following a long period of training. The target is wrapped in a scared light, producing a warm feeling of happiness and also cleansing all curses. Further, the target is bestowed the blessed status condition, preventing them from being cursed for a fixed period of time. As an alternative use, it inflicts major damage to undead.
It does just as I thought.
And major damage to undead. I need to be careful not to hit arrow with it by accident. That reminds me, her default state is accursed. I suppose if that goes away, it really would be bad. Okay, partner, please fire holy towards that water barrel. It'd use a lot of MP.
That much?
Yeah. The water barrel is that big after all. She's been working hard casting high rest on so many people after all. Waiting to recover MP would take a fair amount of time. Plus, I'm sure you know, but something smells off. Indeed, now that we know there are enemies lurking around. I want to conserve MP. I'd like to buy some time by making a few curse-free water barrels. Then, I need to go after the source. If my thoughts are correct, then at the riverside, Hibby was killed and something was set up. Then, I'm firing off Polia. She raises her head and cries out a single "Gah." The water barrel is wrapped in light.
What? What is Dragon God Sama doing?
Ah, if only Miko-sama were here. If only Bella-sama had not left the village. The surrounding Lithivars all wonder what we're doing, tilting their heads as they ask questions.
Bella-sama?
I wonder if she's one of the dragon gods Micus. As I'm thinking, the man who mentioned the name Bella is grabbed by the collar by another man.
How dare you mention the traitor's name at a time like this? And what's your intention in calling her Sama?
An awfully unsettling atmosphere descends. I turn to look at them, and the grabbing man's expression twists in embarrassment and releases his grip. The grabbed man faces me and nervously bows. Well, it's okay not to worry about it for now. More importantly, the water barrel. The curse being gone is great and all, but its appearance hasn't changed one bit. Is it really safe to drink?
It should be good?
I was planning on strengthening it by doing it a second time.
Why so unsure?
I'll try checking it again. Blessed water barrel, value C+. A barrel filled with holy water that has been blessed by the dragon that rules over life and death. Those that drink the water taste a faint sweetness and feel warmth. It also has the effect of slightly relieving status conditions. That might be overdoing it slightly. No, I'm happy that it can relieve status conditions. Dragon God Sama, what exactly? From the crowd of Lithivars, I hear the familiar voice of Baron, who was with Hibby earlier. Taking the initiative, he takes a step forward. I'd thought he'd been killed alongside Hibby, but it looks like the attendants that died with her were some other people. Complicated feelings swell inside me, but seeing my acquaintance gives me a feeling of relief. I indicate the water barrel with my jaw, then gesture towards the other water barrels. I'd thought it'd be difficult to convey, but upon seeing my desperate gesturing, Baron's eyes open wide. Gather the water barrels? Baron says, moving his hand. Guoh. I cry out, and the Lithivars raise cheers of joy. Dragon God Sama has told us to gather the water barrels. Could the poison be coming from them? I can't think anything else it could be from. The relatively healthy people run around, and a moment later, all the water barrels are gathered together. All of them is impossible. I nod my head. I understand that. I lie a portion of them sideways, then start opening the lid of the rest and pouring out their contents. The Lithivars start copying me and join me in pouring them out. Once the work is finished, I have my partner use holy on the remaining water barrels. Just to be sure, I check each of them in turn to be sure the curse is gone.
What are?
Baron asks again. The other Lithivars are quiet. He's completely taken the role of the substitute Miko. I open the lid of a water barrel and bring my head close, then lightly taste it with my tongue. Indeed, there's a faint sweetness to it. When I gulp it down, a feeling of warm contentedness spreads from my abdomen throughout my body. Seeing me, my partner also brings her head closer, and we lightly bump heads. It's precious water, so please leave it for later. Once this is all over, you can drink as much as you like. Indicating it with my forelegs, I encourage Baron to try the water. He falters, looking around at the surrounding lithivars. This is right after they concluded that the water's poisoned, so it makes sense that he'd hesitate. I was hoping that by drinking it first it'd clear that away. Well, a poison that's enough to kill a human would only give me a slight stomach ache after all. Tea to drink water that Dragon God Sama has tasted. That's the problem? I encourage him again with my foreleg, and he nods his head vigorously, then approaches the water barrel. I am most grateful for this happiness. Then. Scooping the water with his hands, he brings it to his mouth. C'est délicieux? It's delicious. Probably, that light earlier was Dragon God Sama removing the poison. Baron shouts, and everyone cries out in joy again. Though to be accurate, it's not that the water was poisoned, it's that it had a status condition inflicting curse cast on it. But I still haven't dealt with the cause of the problem. I need to deal with the source of the curse. There should be something by the river. But I also need to get them to understand the situation. It'd be a good idea to have one of them accompany me. Go! I cry out, and Baron, who had been facing the others, turns to look at me.
Yes. Do you mean me?
He has no way of knowing what it is I want from him, but it looks like he was able to understand that I was calling on him. I nod deeply, then turn to look at my partner. I order to limit the magic power consumption. We've been only treating those in danger of losing their lives. But if we're having him accompany us, it'd be better to make sure he's clear of status conditions.
Go.
My partner gives Baron a high rest with strengthened magic power. After casting it once more, I confirm he's clear of status conditions, then start walking towards the river. 293 Curse Magic Circle. At the riverside, I face upstream. Peer at the river, I notice several belly-up dead fishes. It looks certain that the river's the problem. I check behind me as I move upstream, confirming that Baron is following me with a large spear in hand, then pick up my speed. I notice a bear-like monster leaning limply on a tree by the riverside. Checking its status, I confirm that it has the poisoned and paralyzed status conditions. Baron gulps in apprehension upon seeing it too. After we continue on some more, Baron starts paying close attention to the surroundings. Thinking there must be something out there, I use presence perception, but don't notice anything in particular. As I'm wondering what's up, Baron darts in front of me. Dragon God Sama. Dragon God Sama. He frantically waves his arms, desperate to convey something to me. I don't understand. Explaining it with your mouth would be faster. What? It's them. From here on, their territory is close. With the village as it is now, it might be best to avoid provoking them. No, they're not Dragon God Sama's enemies, but... them? Ah, that reminds me, the other village was upstream. But if we don't find the source of the curse... As I think that, presence perception suddenly picks up on some concentrated malice. It's coming from the bottom of the river. The grass nearby is stained with blood. That'll be where Hibby was stabbed. I clench my teeth tightly. If that blood is Hibby's, then there must be something set up around here. I stop and dip my head underwater. A few suspiciously glowing stones are tumbling on the river bed, contained within a shining magic circle. The magic circle is exuding a purple light which mixes with the river and flows downstream. This must be the source of the curse. Go! I howl, and Baron stops surveilling the surroundings with his spear ready and runs over. That is the poisons. It doesn't look like anything I've seen before, so outsiders really must have.
Go!
My partner chants, and the riverbed is soaked in a gentle light. The light flares up as it touches the magic circle and the magic circle fades. The stones and light both disappear, fragmenting and washing away downstream. Normal skill Holy has risen from level 1 to 2. Great, good job, partner. With this, the curse'll fade away over time.
Ooh.
Amazing Dragon God Sama. Baron shouts out, delighted. The poison will start to disappear. I can leave the explaining to the Baron. Next is... They'll probably be attacking directly soon, so we need to be alert. I'm worried about how many enemies there are. If it's 5 or 6, or at the most, 20, then that's fine, but... if it's any more, protecting the whole village would be difficult. I healed the villagers, but... I only healed them to the extent that their lives weren't in danger. Hardly any of them are in a fit state to stand on a battlefield. Without a Miko, the people of the village can't coordinate the way they're used to. If they're attacked from several angles, there'll be more casualties.
Let us return at once and tell everyone, Dragon God Sama.
Baron says, waving his arms.
Guh.
I moan in a low voice, shaking my head. We can't return yet. There are still things I want to do here. If possible, I want Baron's help.
Dragon God Sama?
If it's just myself, then there's a serious risk that I won't be able to protect the village. I need to request the anti-Dragon God village to aid the defense. There should also be a woman with a presence perception there. Probably, she's the Miko whose name people didn't like bringing up. In order to get their cooperation, I want to convey as precisely as possible what it is we know. Last time I was there, I saved their children and defeated the Manticore. That shouldn't have left them with a bad impression of me. I had thought that by waiting for the right timing, I could have the two villages reconcile. It's moving the schedule forwards a bit, but it's also true that I was mostly just putting it off because I was anxious about whether or not they'd really be able to understand each other. With the Dragon God village in danger, I have no other choice. If I leave them alone, the damage might reach the anti-Dragon God village too, so helping them is also a factor. Plus, now that I know the true nature of the previous Dragon God, I have all that I need to persuade them. It shouldn't be a bad idea. What's more, the fact that Curse's source was here is a miracle in a sense. Perhaps Derek's group didn't know that the villages were fragmented. If they'd set it up further upstream, both villages could have been covered. As the anti-Dragon God village is further upstream, they should be perfectly healthy. Since we're already this close to them, there's value in asking. I hate those guys.
Why's that?
Didn't you fire off, high rest, like crazy even though we were stressed for MP since you were being pampered by the children? The shitty old man and the braggart. Shitty old man.
Braggart.
Ah, Nargrim and Yarg. Indeed, neither of them are very likable. Yarg in particular might hold a grudge. He had all the fingers of one of his hands bitten off after all. Dragon God Sama, they might come towards us if we're here. For now, we should. Baron waves both arms up and down, trying to gesture to me. I understand spoken language, though.
Go.
I moan, indicating for him to follow me with my eyes, then start heading upstream. Dr. Dragon God Sama.
I don't think they were the ones who set up the poison.
Flustered, Baron chases after me. 294 The Anti-Dragon God Village again. I place Baron on my back, then head towards the Anti-Dragon God Village. Guoh. I howl to announce my presence. I don't know how much time we have. I can't exactly go about this carefully. I need to push forwards, even if I have to be a little rash. Hearing my cry, Lithivars of the Anti-Dragon God village soon appear in front of me.
It's here. It's the Dragon God. Hey, what should we do?
Last time, it defeated the Manticore for us. Nagram Sama said to kill it. Unlike the Manticore, it won't calm down after eating people, so we have no choice but to drive it away.
It's come to kill us for our disobedience.
There's 3 people. That Nagram bastard, he's still trying to have me killed. I'd thought that their misunderstanding would have cleared away, but it looks like the gap between the villages is too deep. With that old man at the top, getting their cooperation might be hard.
Dragon God Sama, please take them down.
This Baron shall assist you.
Baron shouts, and their wariness steps up a notch.
And no, I didn't come here for that reason.
Don't falter.
Butra, return and report this to Nagram Sama.
No volley with me.
The man shouts as he charges. His spear hits the base of my foreleg, but fails to pierce as his spear is deflected, leaving a thin cut.
Did that do it?
My partner silently picks up the man and tosses him a short distance through the air. He screams as he falls, the spear dropping from his hand. He hits the ground on his side, then rolls about on the spot.
I'm dying. Avenge me.
It seems he's been blinded by fear and can't tell the state of his injuries. The remaining 2 men are panicked, unsure of what to do.
He won't die from that much, right? Yeah, well done.
At this rate, there's no stopping them from screaming out. I had wanted to convey to them that I'm not hostile and have them quickly call for someone with telepathy. Maybe I should stop announcing my presence and go straight to Nagram. Ignoring the attacks that come at me from either side and occasionally tossing people to a side, we arrive at the Anti-Dragon God village. The inside of the village is in a panic. The women and children flee from me. In their place, the men attack me desperately with spears, but I ignore the unwelcome reception and press on. From among the crowd fleeing from me, a single girl rushes over.
Hey, it's dangerous. Someone, grab her and fall back.
The anti-Dragon God men shout, and the girl laughs in response.
It's Dragon God Wani-san. Dragon God Wani-san?
Seeing the girl in front of me unharmed, they finally understand that I'm not hostile and stop attacking. The sounds of conversations cover the surroundings in place of the attacks.
Why before? Didn't it save us from the Manticore?
As their attitudes soften, a voice comes from my back. Dr. Dragon God-sama.
What exactly?
Baron calls out nervously. I feel sorry for him, but I'll have to have him hear about what happened from the anti-Dragon God person who has telepathy. I could have humanized to explain to him on the way here, but I've got no way of knowing how a person of the Dragon God faction would react to me using humanization technique, and I would like to have recovered the MP spent on high rest by the time we return, so I want to conserve MP as much as possible. I don't want to use humanization technique unless it's absolutely necessary. It uses MP like water after all. Plus, when humanized, my toughness and my strength fall, so there's a risk I could get attacked before I'm able to speak.
Calm down. Get away from the Dragon God.
I hear a loud voice. Looking where it came from, I see an old man with relatively good physique for his age and bulging eyes. It's the chief of the anti-Dragon God village, Nagram. His face is pale, clearly not having expected the Dragon God to have come this far into the village. Young men with spears are arranged around him, acting as guards. Beside him, I see the woman I once met in the forest nearby. Probably, she's the one I heard about just recently in the Dragon God village, the one who betrayed the Miko family, Bella. From her appearance and age, she could be Hibby's younger sister. Nagram must have brought her here for her telepathy when he realized I have something I want to discuss. Baron glares at Nagram, laying bare his disgust. Nagram's the leader of a hostile faction for him, so he must have various thoughts about him. Be careful, Bella. It is possible that its intention was to call the two of us out in order to kill us. Nagram cautions the girl. As I thought, she's Bella. She gives a small nod in response. I'm sure you know this, but don't say anything unnecessary to anyone else. Tell me first. I will then decide whether or not to pass it on. We don't want needless chaos, and this is your first time conversing with the Dragon God, right? You might end up misunderstanding something, so I will lead everyone. For the sake of the village. It's important that what you learn goes through me. It seems that he's been repeatedly reminding her. In any case, it looks like this old man is the bottleneck. Things would go smoother if I could just appeal to the whole village. From what he said, I need to first persuade Nagram and Bella. Bella aside, Nagram seems to be set in his way of thinking. If he finds out that the village is in danger, isn't there a risk that he'd try and take advantage and attack them? Even when I came last time, the others all had docile faces, but this old man was the only one who laughed as he poisoned me. From his reminder just now, I'm sure he plans on deceiving the others. I don't want to rely on it if I can help it, but I might have to get his cooperation through force. 295 Nagram. I look around at the surrounding Lithivars. Most are confused and uncertain, but a few are looking at me expectantly. It looks like the impression I made by defeating the Manticore is helping. That old man, should I knock him out? My partner asks me. If you did that, then the calm situation we finally got to would break down and we wouldn't be able to talk with Bella. Even if he pisses you off, please hold back. We're in a position of asking for their help after all. Bella bows to Nagram, then advances, flanked by two spear-wielding men.
Dragon God-sama. What are? Dragon God-sama?
Baron asks searchingly.
They, res.
Bella closes her eyes and chants, pointing her staff towards me. Her chant is the same one that I remember hearing Hibby use for telepathy. Bella-san. If this is getting through to you, then please tell the person on top of me, Baron, that I've come here to negotiate. I think strongly, then a faintly grim expression appears on her face as she turns to face Nagram, nodding at him slightly in affirmation. Nagram was standing straight with his arms crossed, but upon receiving her telepathy, his eyelid twitches and a faint smile floats on his face. The Dragon God has come here to negotiate, is what it wants me to tell you. In other words, you were brought without knowing anything. I check behind me and see Baron's face has gone pale. Probably, the Miko has become unable to act for some reason, so they're having difficulty in coming to an understanding. As a result, it's come to snatch away Bella, I see. Indeed, for the dragon god to come all the way here, I can understand why someone from the moderate faction would be so displeased. About half correct. I was planning on explaining it all in a moment anyway, so it's fine I guess. But information about the absence of the Miko is by all rights sensitive information that I shouldn't be sharing with the antagonistic anti-dragon god faction. That must be the reason Nagram laughed and Baron went so pale. But all the same, his reaction is awfully disturbing. Nagram-sama? Did you come to understand something? One of his guards asks him. Ah, I understand it all. When it came to kill the manticore earlier, I had thought it was strange. Probably. The blood of the dragon god's Miko has come to an end in that village. It defeated the manticore to create a debt of gratitude it wants to exchange for the gentle Bella, who it has come to negotiate for the following day. The fact that it brought him along without him knowing anything is proof. Nagram announces to the other Lithivars, raising his voice. I guess that line of thought kind of makes sense. But is he not going to listen to what I have to say? It's here to snatch Bella-sama away? So, from the start, that was its objective. But perhaps because of evolution, it's clearly much stronger than the dragon god has ever been. If it were to rampage, we wouldn't be able to do a thing. The atmosphere's gradually getting worse and worse. The guards tighten their grips on their spears. This old man, by speculating and omitting as he pleases, he's fanning the flames of hate. I need explain right away, before this gets out of hand. Goo! I groan, turning Bella's attention towards me. What I want to ask for is cooperation to deal with outside invaders. It looks like there are humans who have come from outside or are targeting the Lithivars. If we don't act soon, this village might get caught up in it too. I understand that your hostility is because of me, but I would be grateful if you could join forces. Otherwise, there's a chance both villages will be destroyed. She got all that. Right? It seems her telepathy skill level isn't very high, as it looked like she was struggling a bit. But it's clear from her wide-eyed look of astonishment that she understood that there's an unforeseen crisis approaching. And no way. Hey, Bella. What did you hear? Outside invaders are. Tell only me, you idiot. Nagram yells at Bella, and she hurriedly recites her chant again, entering her telepathy state. But it's not like we can afford to take things this slow. What did you hear, Bella-sama? Stopping partway through like that. That makes me worry more. All those present, including the guards as well as the Lithivars who failed to run away, start complaining to Nagram. But he appears oblivious to them as he receives a telepathy from Bella. If only he'd stop inserting himself in the middle like this. It's taking up time and it only invites misunderstandings to have information passed along like this. This old man, is he doing it on purpose so the discussion doesn't move forwards? But there is little reason to believe that is true. Nagram mumbles under his breath. Is he really saying that while knowing that, if I wanted to, I could force things through brute strength? Even if I had animosity for them, it'd make no sense for me to make up such a roundabout lie. Do you not think so too, Bella? But if it were true, then we'd have no choice but to join forces. If it were true, right? This is all because even if it were to abduct you, there's no guarantee you would cooperate. That is why it is fumbling for a reason to make you to go willingly. Having said that, Nagram turns to face the Lithivars that have been watching over anxiously. Are you okay with this? Think this through rationally. Do you wish to follow the evil dragon's orders once again and suffer under its selfish whims? It was because we found that way of life repugnant that we left. Now, too, it displays its strength to threaten us as is convenient while it comes to take Bella away. Up to now, they have scorned her as a traitor, but behold this turnabout. Will you not tell us what the crisis is? Did you break free of that place with such half-hearted feelings? I will ask you once again. Will you return to the one called Dragon God? Well? The Dragon God killed the Manticore because it wanted to negotiate with us, so is it not likely that it could have dealt with the Manticore much sooner, but instead intentionally left it alive and sicked it on us? Yuin. Why, you don't have to say it like that. Could old man Nagram have grown attached to the position of chief after having it for so long? If the anti-Dragon God faction were to save the Dragon God faction from this predicament, they could easily go on to reconcile and merge together. Especially since both the Manticore and the Dragon God that were the cause of their conflict are already gone. If the villages were to unify, Nagram would become unnecessary. When I went to his mansion before. Inside his huge mansion he had several young women living there. It looked like he was fully enjoying his position as chief. But if the dragon god were to rampage, the difference in power is so clear, for the time being, we have no choice but to go along with everything. Thinking like that is playing into its hands. That is the reason it demonstrated its power, rather than arriving more modestly. There are opportunities to take advantage of here. In the first place, even when accepting its demands, there are countless ways of striking back. Nagram says to Bella, speaking quietly. "Why, you bastard?" Nagram ignores Baron's anger completely. "Now then. It's about time we resume the negotiations." Bella chants the incantation once again and closes her eyes. Damn it. We really haven't got time to waste on this. I wanted to save the MP regain through automatic MP recovery to go around the village with high rest another time and have some left for intercepting the enemies, but in the worst case, I'll have no choice but to persuade them through humanization technique. No. Rather than Nagram, should I try winning over Bella? My information about the dragon god is still incomplete and riddled with holes, but as I watch Bella, I can start to see the shape of the truth. If my hypothesis is correct, I should be able to persuade her, and then no matter what Nagram might say, she should be able to pull the others with her. This is a wager, though. If I'm wrong, her confidence in me will plummet, and even if I'm right, there's a risk it could cause the Lithivars to fall into a panic at this critical time. 296 Secret of the Dragon God. Bella faces me with her eyes closed. Dragon God, about what you said earlier. Before that, there's something I want to talk about. It might get a bit long and you might start wondering what I'm going on about. But I'd like you to listen to the end without asking Nagram for instructions. A look of confusion appears on her face. What is it, Bella? What's wrong? Nagram draws closer to her, but she just panics, unsure of what to do. Ignoring him, I continue to speak towards her. I am an entirely different dragon from the previous dragon god. I simply happen to meet and be supported by the Lithivars. But there are some things I know about the previous dragon god. Probably. Your Wanichan Hibi didn't know until she took the role of Miko. You see, the previous dragon god wasn't clever enough to think something like proposing a settlement with the Manticore. It definitely wasn't cold-hearted like you say it was. It was a carefree dragon that was happy to be worshipped while it hunted abysses. Bella's face pales. Bella had yet to become a Miko, so as I'd thought, it looks like she didn't know about this. There's a storehouse that only the Miko household can enter, so I'd thought they must have a fair bit to hide. It looks like I was right. The one who made the proposal to offer sacrifices to the Manticore to prevent it from rampaging wasn't the dragon god. Probably it was the Miko of 9 years ago. Hibi would have still been too young, I think, so her predecessor. It would have been the method that she judged was the best way to keep casualties to a minimum. It was probably the best she could do, but the problem lies in the fact that she thought that even if she were to declare it as Miko, not everyone would obey. If there was even one person who refused to go, it would all fall apart. It wouldn't be possible to get someone's consent to be sacrificed after another person refused. That is why she said that it was the dragon god's command. No, the Mikas have been listening to the dragon god and managing the village for generations, so probably she would have already been interpreting the dragon god's words to give them more dignity and made sure that the traditions were strictly followed. There's no way the dragon god and Amphis could have the wisdom to manage the village. So? I told you that all at once, but did your telepathy pick it all up? There's no way. That can't be true. Because then. Bella has already opened her eyes, her mouth flapping open and closed. From her reaction, I can assume she has something in mind. That more support for my theory. Bella? Nagram calls out and she sways and collapses on the spot. Bella-sama, be strong. The two men drop their spears and leap in front to support her. Bella-sama, pull yourself together. Bella-sama. AAA. S someone. Water. I'll bring it right away. It seems losing her composure was inevitable. She was just told that the worship of the dragon god was just a political tool by none other than the dragon god in question. What's more is that this makes it clear that the conflict up to now has been a complete farce. The offering up of sacrifices was something the anti-dragon gods did too. The problem was that the target of their worship, the dragon god, had apparently proposed it without any resistance, so they lost their faith in it. Now that she knows that the dragon god couldn't have given instructions like that, the main reason for the conflict is gone.
Nagrom-sama. There are some things I need to tell you.
Bella starts to talk to Nagram, her breathing ragged.
Don't say it out loud. Don't go causing needless chaos.
After a moment's silence, she closes her eyes again and chants. It looks like she's started explaining to him through telepathy.
That. I can't possibly believe that. It's utter nonsense. Don't be deceived.
Rather than not believing it, it looks like he just doesn't want to talk about it. Everyone, please listen.
Stop.
You cannot possibly want to invite chaos at this time of emergency. Right? So that there are no misunderstandings, what you say should go through me.
Which is why.
It seems this is only known to those who become Miko, as it is passed down orally. I didn't know personally, but I had some idea of it.
Stop.
Nagram grabs at Bella. He grips her head with one hand and wrangles her neck with the other.
Yegeho.
The two men who were supporting her hurry to pull him off. He releases his hand and Bella collapses on the spot.
Please calm down, Nagram-sama. Why you're telling me to calm down?
After I heard such a ridiculous story?
Bella too.
Would anyone really believe such a huge lie? How much must that dragon make fools of us before it is satisfied? Nagram shouts and Bella rises to her feet.
Anyway, I have to tell you all this. Stop, I'm telling you to stop.
Yelling, Nagram shakes off the two men and kicks Bella flying. He then raises above Bella. Right away, I stretch out with my tail to flick him away, but upon seeing my movement, his lips distort into a smile. No way. Does he want to make the situation murky by proclaiming that the dragon got attacked? I hesitate and slow my tail down. Before he can complete the punch, his back is pierced by a spear. He pitches forwards and uses his hand to support himself against the ground. Though it pierced his side, it went in pretty deep. A huge amount of blood is spreading onto the ground. The face of the man holding the spear is ghastly pale. Oh! Nagram roars like a wild beast as he clutches the ground. He puts a huge amount of force into his fingers, scratching grooves into the ground. It looks like he understands that if he were to writhe, the spear would move around and damage his insides, so he's trying his best to avoid convulsing in pain.
Ashe! It's deep!
Stop the bleeding quickly.
Idiot! Don't pull it out carelessly.
Partner. Do you mind using high rest? I get your reluctance, though.
Gah!
She cries and Bella is covered in a gentle light. It looked like her consciousness was hazy after being strangled and kicked away, but after being bathed in the light of high rest, the color returns to her face.
Thank you.
Bella replies with clear confusion. It might be best to help old man Nagram too. 297, the closing of negotiations. It seems the previous dragon god passed away in the abyss nest. After tying up Nagram, the discussions proceeded favorably. Bella relayed everything I told her pretty much as is. They seem to have always been a tight-knit community, so they all listened in serious silence.
Then, so, up to now, why have we?
Nagram used our anger to incite us. Once Bella's explanation has finished, they start intermittently sobbing as they talk. Still, if Hibby had told us all this when the village fractured, then someone grumbles their resentment. But Hibby wouldn't have been able to do that. The split happened right at the peak of the turmoil over the manticore. If the support for the sacrifice order were to crumble, then it would have ended up worse than the village just splitting in two. A dark atmosphere covers everyone, but no one is directing hostility towards me.
It's bullshit. It's bullshit.
No one, that is other than Nagram, who is yelling despite being tied up with rope typically used to tie up large monsters. Hey? Shouldn't we kill him after all? No one would complain if we killed him now, I think. And no, I don't want to go down the path of making them comply through force. I don't want this place to become a breeding ground for future problems, so I don't want to rampage here. Let's leave the petty old man alone. His crimes can be settled peacefully between the Lithivars.
Hey, what should we do with Nagram?
I can only blame myself for jumping on the splitting of the village, but I can't overlook how he hit Bella-sama. Peacefully. I only tried to silence her because she was deceived by the dragon god, so there wouldn't be this chaos. Nagram yells, his face bright red.
Can't we let bygones be bygones?
No, that won't do.
In order for that village to be not wary of us, it would be better if we had his head. As long as we have his head, they shouldn't have any reason to be suspicious.
It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. You are all being deceived, how can you not see that?
I can't bear to watch, so I lightly flick his head with my tail. His body jolts, and his head hangs forwards limply. This should quieten him for a while. It might be better to keep all this from everyone in that village.
Baron says quietly from my back.
Baron Dano, you don't seem to be very upset?
Bella asks, and Baron calmly nods.
Even if the previous dragon god only ate abysses as food, there is no mistaking that our ancestors were protected by it. The previous dragon god saved the village in countless times of crisis. Whatever the case, there are plenty of reasons to pay respects. As I listen to what he says, my heart aches. I feel shame at having worried I would be branded an evil god and killed if I revealed I wasn't the dragon god. But I don't know if everyone will accept that. Much less now, when time is of the essence. If they aren't told well, there's a risk of misunderstanding. So for now, we should hide the matter of Dragon God Sama and prioritize reconciliation and cooperation. I nod in approval. Anyway, it's important to quickly build a cooperative relationship now. They can assume that I persuaded them and corrected their distorted way of thinking. Once the preparations are complete, let's go rescue that village. For now, we should free the 3 that were imprisoned in the cave under Nagram's orders. That many tried to oppose him? If I'd only opened their eyes back then, this talk could have gone smoother. I wonder while looking at Bella, and she panics slightly, thinking I have something I want to say. She chants the incantation and closes her eyes. Is something bothering you, Dragon God Sama?
And no, it's nothing like that.
This girl. Compared to Hibby, she's a bit more faint of heart. It might be because Hibby was trained thoroughly to be the current Miko. See, come to think of it, why were those 3 imprisoned? Akanai was arrested for opposing Nagram's methods. Tatark was guilty of trying to free the sacrifices.
Tatark.
The person who came to the cave and tried to get everyone to escape, the guy who cut the rope binding my partner's arms. Even though I safely killed the manticore, he got caught in the end. Yarg kept trying to persuade Nagram to trust the dragon god, so he was imprisoned in the cave. Yarg did that? I was sure he'd hold a grudge after losing all the fingers of his hand. Well, he's the one who personally saw me and my partner kill the manticore. Even when he was taking her to it, he seemed more concerned about catching and sacrificing a traveler than about his fingers, so he didn't seem to be a fundamentally bad person. The fact that there were so many people who were unexpectedly positive towards me was probably thanks to him. But I won't forgive him. Please don't eat him when you see him. I plan to explain to everyone that's not here, gather medicine and weapons, then head to the village, is that okay? If you come with too many weapons, won't it make a commotion? There should be plenty of spears there already, so don't get caught up over-preparing. I don't know when the enemy will be coming, so I'd rather you hurried as much as possible. Under Nagram's orders, we were preparing a strong version of the Moor's poison, as well as an antidote in case of accidental injury. As a weapon, it should be stronger than anything that village has. I see. That's reassuring to hear, but that poison was probably made for the purpose of stabbing me to death. Well, it's how it's used that matters in the end, right? If I'm there, they should be able to trust them too. 298, Battle Preparation. It's completely dark by the time the weapons and medicine have finished being gathered. It's entirely possible that the enemy could launch a night attack, especially since they might notice that I destroyed their poison magic circle and attack in a hurry. The people of the Dragon God village might also be anxious that I'm not there in a time of crisis. In the early night, I head towards the Dragon God village accompanied by warriors of the anti-Dragon God village. It would be bad if the anti-Dragon God village were to be attacked while their military strength was away. So Bella and other influential people discussed the matter, then decided to leave half of the approximately 200 population behind. On the off the chance they're attacked, there's an evacuation route planned, as well as enough combatants to form a rear guard. I walk down the riverside with approximately 100 anti-Dragon God warriors. With this many reinforcements, we should be able to deal with however many enemies there are. I heard from Bella earlier that the Dragon God village has a population of about 300. Within that, the number that can fight is about 200. Combined, that makes around 300 combatants. A lot of people in the Dragon God village will still be suffering from the cursed water, but I've cut off the source so their conditions shouldn't have gotten any worse. Since I was able to complete the persuasion of the anti-dragon god village without having to waste any MP, I should be fully recovered by the time we get there. Through use of High Rest and Holy, we can secure more battle-capable combatants. Besides, I'll be there. As long as it's a straightforward fight, then even if there's a huge number of people, I should be able to handle them. Ever since I was a plague dragon, I've had enough strength to take on many people at once. As an Ouroboros, I specialize in protracted battles, so I should be able to fight all day long. This is why, rather than driving the enemy back, I'd rather the Lithivar warriors focused on holding out. If I can move around driving the enemy back, that should be enough to end the battle. I think as I walk and notice my partner's jaw muscles shivering. Thinking it strange, I watch her and see her moving her eyes periodically. Did she maybe pick up on some strange presence? What's wrong, partner? If you notice something, please say. It's nothing big. I ask, and she replies with just that. Then, seemingly through a conscious force of will, she stops looking around. Doing that just makes me more worried though. Look, if there's something. No, it's just that those guys in the back aren't calming down. Having been told that, I check behind again. The crowd of Lithivars trails out behind me. Some carry spears and some pull cart laden with pots. Now that I look for it, they are a bit uncalm. As long as they don't scare the Dragon God people, it's fine though. Once the Dragon God village comes into view, I use whistle? Or rather, I blow a whistle. A sharp huey sound fills the air. They'll probably have heard it in the village. I feel bad for waking up all the sick who were asleep, but this is important. Now's not the time to worry about that. Highway. Following on, a second whistle rings out. It's not mine, it's my partner's. I glance at her, and she faces forwards with a composed expression. Oi, you just wanted to do it too. No, it's fine though. As though in reply to our whistles, I hear a strange high-pitched sound off in the distance. Seemingly on patrol, 3 groups appear from different directions, each composed of 5 Lithivar warriors from the Dragon God village. One of them has a whistle made of monster bone. There's no doubt that that was the source of the high-pitched sound I heard earlier. He might have blown it to let the village know there was something occurring. What exactly is? Dragon God Sama, what exactly is happening? The Dragon God Lithivars look at me in bewilderment and, after my partner glares at them, they lower the spears they had pointed at Bella. In the midst of the tense atmosphere, Baron jumps down from my back, landing on both feet. Be at ease. They heard we were in a crisis and came running. Dragon God Sama went there to mediate. The feud is on hold for now. Dr. Dragon God Sama. Hearing Baron's voice, the few who still had their spears raised lower them. They have brought antidotes and precious medicinal herbs. Please let everyone in the village know. Hearing Baron, several head back to the village to tell them. Though it takes a little time, soon enough they get permission to enter the village. I thought it would have gone worse, but it all goes surprisingly smoothly. It might have to do with how they don't have much in the way of other options at the moment. The interactions between people of the Dragon God and anti-Dragon God factions are a little uncomfortable and awkward, but it's not a massive problem. They might distrust each other, but the absence of the original cause of the secession, the Dragon God's Miko, might be having a positive effect. They seem to have pinned all the sins on the Miko household now. Sorry, Hibby. I'll definitely protect the Lithivars in your stead. Once inside the village, as Bella is an influential figure among the anti-Dragon God faction, she is invited to the meeting hall. They'll be discussing the current state and planning what to do. Meanwhile, I go around healing people with the aid of people from the anti-Dragon God faction. Though their experience with poisons and medical treatment, none of what they can do compares to my partner's healing magic. Also, as long as I'm present, I can quickly mediate in any fights that occur. By going around using a high rest, we secure more combatants, as well as heal those seriously damaged by the poison. Once the need for healing dies down, unable to bear my curiosity, I head over to the meeting hall. Ideally, if I could move around independently and strike at their leader to scare them off, that would be best. But if there are discrepancies in our plans, there's a chance I could miss the enemy sneaking past to attack, which would be a disaster. To avoid that, I'm not going to move around as I please but will instead follow with whatever's decided between the Lithivars. It doesn't look like Bella and the others are coming out of the meeting hall though. We've no idea when the enemy is going to attack. Rather than being in the village, I should be out patrolling as soon as possible in order to detect their approach. Involuntarily, I put my ear to the wall to try and listen. But I'm not able to hear the voices inside very well. Impatient, I try peering in through a window. Inside, 3 people from the heads of either faction sit facing each other across a long table, with 5 guards arranged behind each. They seem to be wary that the other side doesn't make any strange moves. Though we really can't afford a conflict between Lithivars at the moment. It seems Bella and Baron are the ones mostly moving the discussion along. Though saying that, Baron is standing with a spear in hand, so he might have been brought along as a guard originally. Suddenly, an old woman sitting in one of the chairs notices me stuck to the window and falls over backwards. Sorry. I couldn't sit still. I quickly pull my head back. 299 Outbreak of War. Once the meeting is over, Bella comes towards me and calls out with telepathy. My apologies, but Dragon God Sama, could you perhaps search the area around the village for enemies? Bella requests, and I nod unhesitantly. That was what I intended to do from the start. Would you mind giving me a brief summary of what was decided in the meeting? Currently, we know neither their numbers, their ultimate objective, nor when they will attack. But it would not be strange for an attack to come any moment. However, we also cannot commit all our capable fighters to defense. It is likely that an attack will come in the night, but if not, we will have pointlessly fatigued our fighting power. I see, if we foolishly commit everyone now, they'll have succeeded in exhausting us just by having revealed their existence. If you look at the situation properly, the longer until they attack, the more time for the damage from the cursed water to soften, so in that sense it helps us. The problem is that we have to assume the worst. The number of combatants gathered here. If you combine the 2 villages, we have about 250. From what Bella told me on the way here, about 2 of every 3 people in the Dragon God village should be able to fight. When I went around healing, there were about 300 people in total, so the number of combatants from the Dragon God village should number around 200, but there are 50 less than expected. There must still be quite a few that haven't fully recovered from the cursed water. Even if their HP is restored and their status conditions are cleared, a lot of them can't escape from the fatigue caused by the curse. Within the 250, a few will be dragging their bodies through sheer willpower. I'll have to check every now and again with a status inspection to make sure none of them are overdoing it. We'll have 100 stay awake while the rest sleep. 70 of that 100 will split into groups of 5 and be on guard outside the village, and the remaining 30 will be on standby in the village, ready to respond to a crisis. If the enemy reaches the village. In other words, if those defending outside aren't able to stop them, those 30 are here to wake the rest up. It'd be great if it didn't come to that, though. I think it is likely that the enemy is waiting downstream, by the river. Since there are no traces of them coming near the village, I don't think they have a good grasp of the terrain on this side of the river. So, I would like to deploy Dragon God Sama with those 70 to be alert for the enemy on the sides facing downriver. I see. How far is it okay for me to go? As far as twice the distance that a Truga can be heard. A Truga? Twice the distance? Ooh. It's a whistle made of graphant bones. You blow into it like this, and sound comes out. Thinking I don't understand the concept of a whistle, she frantically waves her arms while miming blowing a whistle. Seeing her flustered like this makes me feel she doesn't have the same refinement as Hibby. Hibby was always composed, or rather, she came off as a bit detached. But she was never cold-hearted. Even when Derek was hurling abuse at her while on the verge of death, she kept responding to him in good faith. Thinking back, I become sad. I shake my head to clear it. I need to think about the enemies coming from outside. But a Truga? That reminds me, one of the guards had a whistle. That's what it was, no doubt. By putting magic power into it, a Truga can be heard from far away. With a pair in the middle acting as a relay, you can reach twice the distance. I don't know how far that distance is, but I guess I can leave it to the other Lithivars. If I was searching in broad daylight, then it'd be fastest for me to look from the air, but the geography here is just too bad. The trees would hide them. I might try if it were midday, but it's impossible in the middle of the night. Finally, I had the sick collected for my partner to cast High Rest on them. To be safe, I'd like to leave about half our MP remaining. With this much gone, automatic MP recovery will restore some, and I shouldn't have to worry about running out in battle. After that, the 70 Lithivars split into 3 groups of 20 and a group of 10. Together with the group of 10, I head out of the village and down the river. So that we can understand each other quickly, Bella comes with us. As we walk, Bella occasionally closes her eyes and holds out her staff, then chants a spell. She's probably using the presence perception skill. Of course, I'm also focusing hard on the surrounding area with presence perception too. There hasn't been anything suspicious so far. After walking for a while, I notice a strange presence a short distance away. I know I'm the one saying this, but the presence feels like it's exuding an evil magic power. There's no way it could possibly be a human. I strain my eyes towards dark gaps between the trees. Arrow and an Arini stare back at me. Realizing I've seen them, they quickly hide. It looks like they got anxious and came looking for me. Perhaps having also sensed Arrow's magic power, Bella swings her staff left and right hurriedly. Then she lowers her staff, muttering, "Oh, was it my imagination?" To be honest, that's what I hope she thinks. I understand Arrow's worried for hometown, but for now, I just hope she stays put quietly. She can just leave this to me and I'll handle it. That reminds me, will she be outed by the Miko's presence perception? I was thinking that she had some reason for wanting to return to the humans, but I have to hope Bella's not in the way of that. I wonder if I can somehow persuade her to overlook Arrow. There's none. It looks like there's no one down this route. Should we head now back in case of the worst? As I continue to walk with the Lithovar warriors, their exhaustion starts to become apparent, and I hear voices like that. It's not just the tension of the situation wearing away at them, but they're out searching during the dead of night. They're reaching their body's limits. My eyes meet Bella's in agreement. She turns to face the warriors at the back. We have Dragon God Sama with us. Even if we're isolated, we have the best chances in a confrontation. In the worst case, Dragon God Sama can return to the village alone. Bella explains apologetically to the warriors. Right. But there's no sign of them, so. I was continuing to walk while watching the exchange, but suddenly I notice human presences. And it's not just one or two. Just ahead of us, there's a huge crowd of people. I'd expected 20 at most, but there's far more. There's around 50 of them. Guh. I groaned softly to alert Bella and the others. Eh? Flustered, Bella closes her eyes and prepares for presence perception. As she does, the crowd of enemies picks up their speed. It seems they also have a way of sensing us. It doesn't look like there's any way out of this battle. From the viciousness of their methods so far, it's clear they've come to destroy the Lithivars. Since they killed the Miko and laid a curse on the river, the Lithivars' feelings also won't settle until it's all over. Probably. I'm going to have to kill a lot of humans. I think about Hibby as I steel my resolve, staring forwards. 300 the starved hunters. The number I'm sensing with the presence perception? As my best estimate, there are 50. In reality, there are slightly more, I expect. The ones the Lithivars captured to sacrifice to the Manticore were mainly adventurers. In other words, the number of people that have suffered at their hand shouldn't be too many. They live in the forest and avoid contact as much as possible thanks to their strange customs, so compared to bandits, the damage they cause should be much less, I expect. It won't be to the scale where they're regarded as dangerous by some lord, and I think it's unlikely that they could have incurred the wrath of some powerful person. So this 50? They're probably the main body, not decoys. It's hard to imagine that more than this were mobilized. The enemy is coming. There's over 40 of them. The difference in strength is too much. Let's hurry back to the village before we're surrounded. As for the Truga, please wait until you can see them. They seem to have noticed us, but they shouldn't know our exact location. Bella informs the others. The man who brought the Truga to his lips panics and stops. And no way. That's too many, weren't there only supposed to be about 30? The Lithivars are bewildered. It's not just 40, there's at least 50 of them though. Also their speed. It's clear they're up to something. It looks like they've also noticed us, so maybe they want to cut off our escape. I'm glad it was us that found them. I'd never have thought there would be over 50 of them. If a different group had found them, the most they could do would be to use their terrain advantage to reduce the number of casualties as they flee. If we hadn't dealt with the river and prepared for an attack in the early morning, the village could have really been destroyed. Dragon God Sama, let's hurry and escape. We need to report to the other teams who are on patrol. Whoa! I shake my head and stand facing the enemy. I don't know their strength, but I'm an Ouroboros with an inexhaustible supply of stamina. As a rear guard, no one could be more suited than me. Dr. Dragon God Sama has chosen to fight. In that case, I shall fight too. I will fight with all my strength. Even though the other Lithovar warriors were ready to flee a moment ago, they ready their spears. If it came down to it, I could flee by flying. Fruga, your youngest. Take Bella-sama and return. But. Hurry up and go, you idiot. If you fail, I'll beat you to death.
Yes.
Bella-sama, this way? It's as though they already think we're going to lose. Since we set out to do scouting only, being targeted by a large group that can somehow sense us would make them think that, yeah. I thought it was rare among humans, so I'm surprised there are apparently so many with presence perception. I guess that, since they're fighting in the forest, they might bring someone along for it. This team was 10 Lithivars, Bella excluded, so with one headed back to relay the message we have 9. They've got more than 5 times our numbers. Suddenly I pick up on some presences spreading out horizontally. Do they plan on ignoring us and crushing the messengers behind us? No. That's not the impression I get. They're spreading out on both sides to encircle us. Do they mean to surround and massacre us so none can get away? Because I can't see them, I feel even more pressure. There's no doubt. They're used to fighting. They're also accustomed to working in groups rather than individually. I'd thought it was a collection of enemies that had assembled in a hurry, but it doesn't look like that's the case. Dada. The sound of horse hooves stir the surroundings, making the forest noisy. Guo-h. I growl and run diagonally back. If I charge to the front, we'd be surrounded for sure. Destroying the incomplete edge of their encirclement is the safest option. The 9 Lithovar warriors chase after me. 8 cavalrymen appear. Like Derek, they're wearing tight-fitting, navy blue military clothes. I spot iron breastplates on each of them. These guys really are quite disciplined. There's something strange about that. The dragon god has shown up already. Don't approach the dragon carelessly. Contain it while keeping your distance. If you get hit and are sent flying now before the other units get here, it'll be a problem later. We might not have enough firepower, so we'll leave killing the big one to the magic attack units. Make sure to crush the small fries. At a glance, the small mustached man in the back is the leader of the other 8. It seems the Lithovar's dragon god culture is known to other places. If they think I'm an Amphis, that could make things easier, so it's not necessarily a minus. Captain, it's been a while since we killed people, so can't you raise our morale a bit more? Personally, I don't like this sort of thing. I want to hurry up and attack the village. Why are there scouts out this far? Weren't they meant to be all collapsed from poison? The captain yawns as he glares at me, clearly thinking I'm a bother. A while since they killed people? I thought it was strange. It would be weird for an adventurer whose family was killed to be able to mobilize 50 people, and it's clear they're used to fighting as a group. I'd thought the poison curse was used to overturn the difference in numbers, but it seems that wasn't the case. We need to hurry up and crush these guys so we don't fall behind. If Toman-sama gets to all of them before we get a chance, I won't be able to have any fun. Hurry up and do as instructed, then recover. The captain claps his hands together. As I hear the sound, something snaps inside me. The 7 cavalrymen arranged in front of him draw their swords and charge towards me. The captain's lack of motivation can't be helped. We're excellent, so if he'd just try a bit harder we could raise our unit's rank. Idiot, it's the clever ones who cut corners where it doesn't matter. Even though they're here to kill, they're awfully talkative. More are on their way, so they might be making light of us, thinking it'll be fine one way or the other. They're coming. Dragon God-sama. Leave them to us and be wary of the other. I kick off the ground and launch myself to the oncoming cavalry at full speed. What speed, GH? The horse and rider separate in the air, tumbling across the ground while covered in blood. I bite the belly of the captain, who was staring dumbfounded, and raise him high in the air. See Captain Bars. Ga. Rest. The captain called Bars mutters a spell. It's not like I don't feel anything for his pitiful state, but I slam him against the ground all the same. The shock runs through my face. I think I took a little damage from that. I might have been a bit too forceful because I wanted to shake off my hesitation. Captain Bars's body goes limp as blood bursts from his crushed head. It's a taste I haven't experienced since becoming a dragon, an unpleasant sensation. It's my first experience killing humans with hostility. 192 experience points have been acquired. Due to the title skill Walking Egg, LV-, an additional 192 experience points have been acquired. He gave a bit more than an abyss. From his reaction when I jumped at him, I thought his status would be around that level. The enemy cavalry are frozen, staring at my mouth. I open my mouth and Captain Bars tumbles out. It's not a nice feeling. Killing a lower rank and a human at that. Title skill Path of Evil has risen from level 8 to 9. Say what you will. Today only I won't hold back. Don't do something you're not used to. It's okay to leave it to me. I can't just leave it all on you. Besides, if anything, I'm grateful to our enemies now. I don't know what their ultimate objective is, but they're so easy to understand that I can take them down without having to think about it. Charge. We have Dragon God Sama with us. The Lithovar warriors charge towards the cavalry with their spears out. Still in shock from the death of their captain, they hastily flee. One man tumbles from his horse. I hear the sound of footsteps approaching and look around with my partner. Finally, the other guys have caught up. Moving to surround us, they've cut off 3 sides. Their numbers? There's a little over 70 of them. Together with the unit whose captain I destroyed, there's more than 80. 80. Could there be even more moving separately? At this rate, I can't afford to take them on properly. From what they said, there should already be other units headed to the Lithovar village. We guessed right. Look, a big catch. The one-eyed man in the lead says as he laughs.